PG-13. But then someone gets offended and they're like, oh, well, this is a little bit racier than I wanted. So instead of having the bylaw or the guidelines of like, okay, well, we would literally have to sit there and look at everything on a case by case. We kind of have everything a bit open ended.
Mhm.
Ironically enough, as I'm sitting here talking about this, I realize that if you do get demonetized, you have to have them look at it manually anyway. So,
Well, yeah, it's kind of the whole point of, like, this is one of the reasons why I don't really like the concept of the whole algorithms looking for keywords and stuff like that. I understand this is one of those things, and I have this theory about a lot of things. Because I don't even know what's a good example. I'll use this as the example. I don't know why I'm searching for some comparison. It's made in a way to try to help protect people from something that they're trying to essentially mediate, but it is implemented in a way that is abusive and essentially almost like super authoritarian in a way. And I don't mean like fascist, like authoritarian, just like this is getting to the point where it's a little fucked up to do this.
I think the problem is it can be exploited real easily, and it can be exploited as we've seen, it can be exploited very easily to get people taken down. Even my own job, we had an issue a couple weeks ago where, I mean, it's no secret, you know, I work with wrestling bios, and we had an issue where WWE would strike us. You know, strike the channel. I don't want to say us. You know, I'm just a private contractor. But you know, they would strike Wrestling Bios' channel, and they would hit him like all at once, right? And the issue with that is, you know, every time they usually let go of the copyright and everything, but the issue then becomes, you know, every time he's got to go through the process of like, okay, it's for use, it's fair use, all this crap. And that's great and all, but the problem is that if YouTube decides to hit, if they really wanted to, they could take down the whole channel, because all they would need to do, or WWE for that matter would need to do, is just strike the channel 4 times, and then that's it. At once. Even if the strike gets removed, all they got to do is hit it 4 times and the channel's gone. And then you've got to wait X amount of time to bring it back.
You know what's really funny about the whole thing is that you could almost blame the entire situation on fucking Metallica and like 3 other bands.
From Napster? Or you talking like after Napster?
No.
Because Napster is where it all started.
But yes, it's mostly because of the pressure from them. But
they set the precedent.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing that'll always be the funniest to me is that they basically, and it came full circle after a while, because during I want to say this was in the middle of all the COVID lockdowns and stuff. They were trying to do a live concert through Twitch, and they sounded too much like they're recording, so they struck it down. They ended it on copyright claim. It's like, well, you're playing copyrighted material. You can't do this.
You know what's funny is there's a lot of people that talk. I don't know that because I'm not smart enough. Like, I'm rambling. You know me. I'm a big rambler. So, but the way, like, excuse me, there's a term. It's like closing the door behind you or whatever. Metallica is big. You know, it's funny. Like, and they're the ones that are getting their asses clapped on the door. If you think about it, that's closing behind them, because you know Metallica started as an underground band that. You know, I wouldn't necessarily say they were like punks as fucks or anything like that. Like, they were never like that. But you know, they started as an underground band and they had to like pave their own way, right? So I just find it kind of funny that for a band that struggled, you know, out of nothing, they would be so hard on copyright and all this crap, right? Like, I don't know them, so I don't know what the situation is. But it is funny though that after all that crap, all of the bitching and moaning, everything, that they can't even do a live performance of their own shit without immediately getting like struck. Like, that's hilarious. Then Twitch, and what's funny is technically, if they want to play that game, Twitch and YouTube do not have to pay them then, because you know, it's like, hey, these are our bylaws, and yeah, I mean, I know you're the copyright, but like, you know, these are the rules. Yeah, this is what else do you want? Like, it's like those people that want something so bad and then they get it. I can even say it simpler than that. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
Yep. Yep, the monkey's paw of copyright claims.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep. And you know what's funny is I don't want to use the word on your video because I don't want your video to get completely fucking
Is it
mutilated.
I'll say it.
No. That ironically enough, that word's fine. You can get away with saying that on YouTube.
Thanks,
but
Australia.
Yeah. But it's in terms of my video, right? Why I'm already not get a whole lot of views, and not because it's a very niche actor. Because the actor himself is not the controversial one. It's who he acted at. I mean, you know what it is. I've already told you.
Right. Yeah, no spoilers though. Can't wait to see it.
Oh, it's great. It's been 4 months in the making. You know, it's been a lot of work. But
if anybody watches this first for some reason, the only clue I will give you is that he is the opposite of Lone Ranger. Have fun guessing.
That's you know what's funny is that's actually pretty fucking spot on.
I've been fucking thinking it the whole time.
I wish I would have. So you know what's funny? I wish I would have heard that beforehand because like I made a comparison. I'm like, well, he's not exactly the Clark Gable of his time frame. And I wish I would have done the Lone Ranger because that would have made way more sense. I mean, it still makes sense with Clark Gable. Give him another hint, Casablanca, but it's not anybody in Casablanca. You know, Clark Gable and everything, and it would have made way more sense for Lone Ranger. Like that would have been really funny.
Well, see, me and you just happen to know about the history of it because we looked into it. I don't know if a lot of people even like the Lone Ranger, especially after what happened with the movie that came out.
I think it's kind of the Lone Ranger nowadays is, you know, it's funny you bring this up. I think the Lone Ranger nowadays is kind of like the Shadow. Like, do you know who the Shadow is?
Yes, I do.
I recently, I do too. I recently got into the Dynamite run of Shadow, and I hadn't read it yet, and it was fantastic so far. And I've started listening to the live action performances, or not live action, but the live performances they have on YouTube. If you go on here, if you guys type in the Shadow dramatizations, like there's a whole bunch that'll pop up that you can listen to. I literally have them in the background while I'm editing, working on a script or whatever the case is, and they're fantastic. And what I think the Lone Ranger is like today is kind of like what the Shadow is today. People remember the Shadow for what it was, like, you know, that pulpy noir hero with some supernatural elements. I think that most people look at it the same way with Lone Ranger. I think the only reason the Lone Ranger is looked upon negatively a little bit is kind of like, to your point, that movie that came out with Johnny Depp as Tonto. You know, like I didn't see the movie, so I can't judge it either way. I'm not going to judge it either. But I've not heard very favorable things.
I'll say one thing. It's very common with these types of situations to it. Johnny Depp's performance is fantastic. The movie itself is
everything he's in,
like dog shit. Everything else about the movie is terrible.
You know what's funny? Did you ever watch The Shadow with Alec Baldwin? I think 93.
I love that movie.
I do too. I actually think it's the opposite effect. I don't think Alec Baldwin's performance is very good in that, but I like everything with the movie. And I know it's fine. I know a lot of people would disagree, but I literally have the exact opposite problem versus what's it called? We were just The Lone Ranger.
Alec Baldwin in his 20s, and I've been keeping this like close to my heart until the perfect moment to talk about it. Alec Baldwin in his 20s. If you watch The Shadow and you see the moment where he's like being called to action and stuff, I'm like, he would have made a great fucking Batman.
Yes, he would have. I don't hate Alec Baldwin's performance. He's just not my first choice as The Shadow.
Yeah. And he
I think
guns,
he would have been. Yeah, and he uses guns, which is hilarious. But like, I don't think I need to explain why that's still, you know, R.I.P. But
feel compelled to say I'm sorry. I know a woman is dead, but
yeah, right,
still funny.
Right. But I think it's hilarious. But that's the thing. Like, I think he would have been a better Batman, absolutely, because it would have fit his build. Now, that's not to say anything against Michael Keaton. I think Michael Keaton's perfect, but if we're talking like, if you just look at Alec Baldwin versus what Batman looks like in the animated series, I mean, he looks like almost the same fucking person.
Yep.
Like, why they didn't think... I actually make a similar point to that in the video. I don't want to just keep talking about that. Ironically enough, in my new video, I do make a lot of analogies and comparisons to the MCU. There's like a scary amount considering the subject matter. But yeah, it's pretty funny. It's good shit.
I think the only thing that really kind of throws him off for it, because Alec Baldwin in his 20s and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's a
Let
handsome
me see.
guy.
I can't. Trying to remember how tall he is. I want to say he's a little close to 6 foot, because that's the only issue that we usually have, in my opinion, with a lot of actors that play Batman. And one of the odd reasons. Actually, I'm just gonna fucking circle this into She-Hulk because this works out. Because Batman and Superman are fucking like absolute brick shit houses at like 6 foot, 6'5" ish, somewhere in that range. And let me see, how tall is this guy?
He's 6 foot.
He's 6 foot. See, and he's right in that. Oh wait, yeah, 5, like just shy, 5'11". But let's be honest, who the fuck is gonna really give the guy shit over 1 inch short?
Yeah, like that'd be stupid.
Yep.
I mean,
last time he was an inch short, a woman died. So.
Oh no!
Oh god.
I mean, yes.
Now the video's not getting monetized. But anyway.
Well, since it's not getting monetized anyway, like, the reason why my video's not gonna do very well is I think I say the word. All right. Well, I won't spoil what the thing's about.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say.
But
we'll leave that one ambiguous.
Yes. I won't say specifically what the subject matter is, but you know that the subject matter, those 2 words, the name of the person and the group, that's enough to get your video completely fucking blacklisted anyway. But I also use the word, since this is not going to get monetized anyway, suicide at least like 14 times in the video.
Yeah.
So that already, it's like, nope. That even against Tim, they're like, nope. Gotta have respect for that guy. Really? For him? We're gonna respect his. Okay, well, all right.
It reminds me of the Ricky Gervais joke about the. It was in his newest special where he's talking about the new women, the ones with beards and cocks. That's not a good British accent, but you get the point.
Yeah, you tried. I give it a fair shake.
But yeah, and I'm just gonna cycle it back through so this is the issue.
Oh, we'll get back to She-Hulk.
Oh yeah, but I want to do it while I'm on the height thing. So basically,
oh okay, right.
For the thing that fucking pissed me off more than anything else with this is that Kevin Feige tells the director creator of the show, oh hey, do whatever you need to do, make it work. We want to make this like the flagship of Phase 4 kind of a thing. It's like you're fucking
really?
like 2 or 3 years into it. I'm paraphrasing a lot. That's the attitude that I think they took into it. And then they realized they were actually gonna have to pay for it. So they're like, yo, can you take out some of the scenes with her as She-Hulk and stuff, because it's really fucking expensive. That was expensive, really. Putting that fucking monstrosity of CGI on screen was expensive. That was good CGI for 2002.
I mean, I think you're being a little friendly there, to be honest.
I am.
I don't even know if it would have been good for 2002, maybe like 1998. So what's funny is I don't think they even needed to do that. So if you check your messages, I just sent you a picture of an actress, right? And what you'll find interesting about this actress name is Malia Araya. I believe I butchered the fuck out of the name. Very gorgeous woman. Like just looking at her, gorgeous, right? She's literally, I'm not shitting you, she's literally the She-Hulk stand-in for, she was there every single day on set the entire time. Every time their She-Hulk was there. So my thought process was, why the fuck did they not just make her She-Hulk?
Oh, because it was way more fun to put what's her name? Oh god, I always remember her name just because of the drinker, and now it's fucking throwing me off.
Honestly, his reviews are pretty good. Tatiana Maslany.
That's it, and she's gorgeous, by the way.
Oh, Tatiana!
It throws me off how it actually throws me off because they really tried to uglify her for the show, and I'm kind of like, she's still really pretty, and then I see her in her modeling pictures and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay. So you were trying to do that, and you somehow her real life modeling pictures look not as good. As I'm sorry, you're trying to make, you're still somehow, when she's She-Hulk, trying to make her modeling pictures somehow are better than when she's She-Hulk, which is a fucking 7 foot tall green Amazonian Hulk. Couldn't think of another synonym for that.
And it's funny. Okay, maybe Tatiana Maslany is a better actress. Okay, I get that. It's not like they went and hired Megan Thee Stallion to show up in the show or anything. So they had the budget. Oh wait, yeah, they did do that. My bad. The fact that this
Worst fucking
Malaya
episode.
girl, yeah, Malaya, or hell, even the girl that played Titania, Jamila Jamil, I mean, you look at the comics, they look like She-Hulk.
Mhm.
Like they actually look like her, and not like in a bad way. Like in a wow, all you gotta do is put some prosthetics on them, you know, grow out the face a little bit, and you've got a live action She-Hulk without needing to spend millions and millions of dollars on effects.
Well, and Jamila's fucking gorgeous too. It's like
Yes, she is.
this is the thing that throws me off about like did you ever watch The Good Place?
The Good Place.
It's on Netflix if you get a chance. It's shit, what's her name?
Kristen Bell.
Yeah, Kristen Bell. I was about to say Veronica Mars, but I don't know why I remember that.
Yeah.
But the like the
I'm
whole
not, but I know what you're talking about.
exactly. But the whole background joke for every time she's in the show is it's just that she's a beautiful heiress, and that's like 95% of her character is that she grew up rich, but she always felt like she wasn't good enough because her parents had these just like ridiculously high standards that her sister seemed to always be able to pole vault over like it wasn't a big deal. And the world basically recognized her sister for how perfect and amazing she was. And even though she, by any other metric, would have been an amazing person to emulate yourself by, but she always got compared to her sister.
I know. Okay, I do. Okay. Don't spoil anymore. I actually kind of want to watch the show now. I'm sorry. Like I'm looking. I'm like, why don't I watch this yet?
That's literally like a season 1 episode like 4 reveal. Like it's not a fucking shelter at all.
Okay.
And the deconstruction of the whole show. It's basically 4 of the worst people that you could possibly meet just kind of have to learn how to be good people so they don't go to hell.
And maybe that's why they made her a villain. Which I don't know. Again, I don't know why they didn't. And okay, to slightly circle back because I want to make it clear, I don't hate Tatiana Maslany, however you say it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to say her name either. I don't either. I've seen her in a lot of stuff that I enjoyed.
I haven't seen a whole lot that I probably have. I just can't think of what it is off the top of my head. But given how bad the script was and the writing in She-Hulk, she didn't do a terrible job. It's just my thought process is you literally have 2 people that look like the comic book accurate version of the character. Like we're not even getting into like the really crappy bits. Spoiler alert, people, the show's not. If you haven't watched it by now, go watch Miss Marvel. It's a better show. Yeah, and if that isn't setting the bar, boy, I don't know. I've got notes. Trust me, I wrote notes, a couple of notes down for this, because I knew this was going to happen at some point. So I went back and skimmed through Miss Marvel again just for this. But my thing is, it's like tangent too. Doesn't Jamila look like? Remember my birthday? Lacey's
yes, she does.
Bianca doesn't she look like Bianca? Like she looks exactly like her. Like it's actually scary how much they look alike.
I think Bianca's prettier, but that's probably just because. Well, what's a nice way to say this? Jamila has more of a like a dancer's figure. Very tall, very long arms, long legs. Perfect for modeling. Exactly. Bianca looks more like what I would imagine fucking She-Hulk would look like, ironically enough.
Right. Yeah, good looking, Amazonian, fucking just like you just know that if like they could basically do the whole catwalk thing, they could do everything perfect, but if they wanted to fuck you up, they could do it.
Exactly.
Very much so.
And her skin has this like natural like gold olive quality to it, so it's like, and Jamila's looks like it has that too, so it kind of has like there's a lot of comparisons to be made here.
That's like I'm looking at her, I'm like, holy shit, it literally just looks like Bianca. Like it's fucking crazy. I mean,
I hope she never hears this. By the way, your fiance is a very lovely man.
Honestly, he is too. Like I love him to death. I won't say his name. No, he's awesome.
He's exceedingly charming.
Yep, he's fucking cool as shit. I love him. Now he's like, I'm gonna fucking kick their asses now. It's like, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Well, hold on, dog. Wait a minute. They said something nice about me. Let's skip over that ass whipping.
Yeah, like we'll let it go this time. It's like that bit from the ending of Letterkenny season. Your sister's hot, Wayne, and then he just runs away, and then that's the last joke they ever make of something like that ever again, and then it just kind of goes downhill from there. But No, I won't go on that far of a tangent.
Fair
Back
enough.
to she cringe, as I've been calling it. So I don't know if you want to lead with anything or had any specific thing you wanted to bring up at first, because I want to take a slightly different approach instead of just completely shitting on it. I just wanted to, aside from the, the fact that they had two women that like She-Hulk, that could
Yeah,
have
in the
just been
side
She-Hulk.
cast.
Yeah. Yeah. You literally have someone that you're paying to just stand there as a reference that probably would have taken the exact same amount of pay and been She-Hulk for you, probably for less money, but whatever.
Like, would it
You could have
really have
digitally
been
made her
that hard
smaller.
to just
Right, like you could have
paint
literally
some
just.
bitch green?
But I guess that's just really hard to do. But
Yeah.
so, are we talking spoilers in this video, or are we going to avoid spoilers?
Oh no,
The actual
it's
show.
over. Fuck them.
Okay.
Everybody who's gonna watch this show has watched this show. And on a side note, we've been going for about 20 minutes now. I just now remembered to turn the slideshow on. So,
well, just put like a picture of Oh, we can't put Bianca on there. Just put a picture of Jamila Jamil like in the first 20 minutes or some shit.
I kind of need to. Yeah. And I've got this. I've got a little trap set of pictures set up too. So I'm gonna like turn the slideshow back off and then make this joke. So we'll see if the setup for it happens naturally. But anyway, yeah.
Jamila Jamil. My whole thing is like, all right. It's funny because the very last episode, they do their best to cover their own asses, right? And this is what actually makes me the most mad about the show. Not the crappy acting, not the Daredevil stuff, not the, again, no offense to Tatiana, all that shit, blah blah blah. I'm covering my own ass now, but it's the fact that they waited till the last goddamn episode to become self-aware to the point where they're like, we know we're writing a very generic, basic Marvel show. Well, then let's just change it to make it different. So my question is, why didn't they do this in episode like 3?
Hold on. You accidentally set it up. Nobody's going to believe that this was natural. Congratulations, Jessica Gao. You've made yourself into the new Tommy Wiseau.
It's called black comedy. It's a dark comedy.
I'm gonna send you the pictures I chose for this too after, because this is that. Oh my god, nope. Fucking
yeah,
this is
like
beautiful.
This isn't planned, by the way. Like I wish it was planned, but no, it was not. So, but
point of reference, check out Disaster Artist if you're wondering exactly what we're referring to. But anyway, continue.
Yep. and then go watch The Room after it. And on a lighter note, and then after you're done watching all that, go the Final Sacrifice version of Mystery Science Theater 3000. It has nothing to do with this, but you'll appreciate it.
No, it's it used to be my favorite terrible movie. Now it's my second favorite terrible movie, right after Monster High.
I think that's that's fair. Those are. Well, we need to talk about those eventually too. But anyway.
Oh, absolutely. But we'll do that for your channel, just to, like as an op-ed or something.
Sounds
please
good.
Continue.
So my whole thing is, why did they not? So okay, if they knew that they were writing a generic show that they were going to they were going to piss everybody off, it was going to make everybody upset, and they knew that, right? So they were self-aware enough in the show to make jokes about Twitter armor and internet trolls and all this stuff. Okay, got it. It's your show. You write it wherever you want to write it. I might not think it's great, but you know what? At the end of the day, I'll just fucking kick rocks, right? My issues then becomes in the very last goddamn episode, they literally have the on screen and say they're writing a generic TV show and that they're going to change it. So one, you make your writers look fucking incompetent because it shows that they were so dumb. And I know they were trying to do the whole we're just being smart and socially aware and all that crap, right? I get that's what they were trying to do, but wouldn't it have been better if they did this in episode 3, right? Like it starts off where it's going to be super generic and lame, and it's like, oh, it's going to follow the Marvel formula. Spoiler: there's a fucking robot named X-Men in 3 seconds. But why wouldn't they in episode 3 do this, and then the rest of the season defy our expectations? Why only wait until the last 5 minutes of episode 9? So you're gonna make me fucking sit through 9 weeks. I don't remember how many episodes there were. 9 episodes, I think.
Yeah, 9 episodes, 9 weeks.
9 weeks or 8 weeks. No, because it was one per week. You're gonna make me sit through 9 weeks of this shit, only in the last episode to say, "Oh, we know it's not very good or it's generic, so we're just gonna change it and make it this in the last second."
Well, this show was also the opposite of like what people usually think happens with anime, you know?
Yeah,
because they make the whole thing first and then they release it 1 week at a time, making small edits and changes here, after the fact in retrospect. But they didn't do that for this one.
I'll just say this: Miss Marvel was written better, and I know there's people out there that will say that She-Hulk was a better show, and I'll fight them because it was not.
No,
Miss Marvel. I'll put this right. I like the Inhumans. I'm gonna preface this with this. I like the Inhumans. I do not like Miss Marvel as a character. I was never a fan. I always thought she was a lame Inhuman. Not my thing. To Miss Marvel's credit, they made me give a shit about the character Miss Marvel. And I know
most
that's
of the
a very
credit goes to the
unpopular thing to
actress.
say. And that's what I'm getting at. The actress was very well done, and all of the social commentary shit that they threw in Miss Marvel was not involved with the main actress, Miss Marvel. The biggest issue with Miss Marvel was the fact that Miss Marvel herself, the actress, was fine. She was a great actress. I think she was great. She made me give a shit about a character I don't like, and she was good. Everything else around that sucked.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll say the same thing about Tatiana Maslany, however you fucking say your last name.
Yes.
Her performance, she's doing very well. She's very likable, and in my opinion, she did as best as she could with this absolute dog shit writing.
And I think that's honestly the biggest. A lot of people will say the CGI and it's the same formula and blah blah blah, and maybe that's true to a certain degree, right? But I think the biggest weakness right now with the MCU is the writing. It's not good. I just saw Black Adam this weekend. I won't spoil it because you should just watch it. And I'll tell you the reason why it's getting panned. It's because the story is about a father and father-son and a wife. There's a lot of like family dynamic stuff that's brought into it, and that's why they're shitting on.
I think we did this shit to ourselves because there's there's too many situations where people are like, "Oh, I need to be." This will always make me laugh, whether we're talking about Ariel or name another ginger who got recast as a black person. That kind of
ginger side, I think, is what the name is, right?
Yeah, basically. Which it'll forever make me laugh because it's just like, well, hold on a second, why do you guys keep doing this specifically to this demographic? It's very strange.
It is very strange.
But
I will. It's the whole idea is it's like, oh my bad. It's like they want to do it once, but they do it. If one is great, 1,000 is better, right? And that's the problem with Hollywood and corporations like that is they don't see what people are actually gonna like. Like, okay, like I'm gonna fucking watch Black Panther 2, and it's not because everyone involved with it or anything like that, right? Like, I think the dude playing M'Baku's fucking. I think the actors and actresses involved with Black Panther 3 are gonna be fine, but it's the fact that they're just trying. They think, okay, once Chadwick Boseman unfortunately passed away, they're just gonna push his sister in. They're like, okay, there's your new Black Panther.
And then they're gonna do some bullshit thing where he's like taking off, saying like, "Oh, goodbye, my sister. I love you. I would never pick anybody but you to be my to take my place." And then goes up in a thing, most advanced civilization on the planet. The ship just blows up because of a malfunction.
It's gonna be some bullshit like that, and the problem is it's gonna piss everybody off. And instead of giving them a chance to stand on their own 2 feet, they're gonna get hated on because they're gonna get. And then all of a sudden it's about race and all this shit. It's like, no, it's because instead of actually trying to do something creative, you guys took the half-ass route out. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, she was Black Panther in the comics. It's not what I'm getting at.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I already know how they're going to get around. They're eventually going to back. But they just don't want to do it right away, and it's gonna be through Secret Wars. But
exactly the in the comics thing. So that valid.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
love
in the
this.
comic because in 2016, after all these crazy fucks took over.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Valid criticism from 2012 through 2015 is there
Hmm.
because it's like, okay, we're going to talk about Spider-Man. We're going to talk about the Spider-Man that we loved growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s and the 2010 and all the way up until
Hmm.
all of the shit, all the way up until that point. And then they started like, well, these people I feel this is my favorite thing about this is that the amount of times that we've doubled down on the same shit. It's like if I say something blatantly racist at work and then I have to circle back to it every single time it comes up and I go like, well no, like, it's not really what I said. That's not exactly how it went. I'm not really trying to do this exact type of thing. And I just kind of keep putting down to it, but also this horrible thing about this demographic that I was being super racist to. It's like, stop. Just, you need to quit talking because you're digging yourself a hole.
Hmm.
They keep doing this with the comics and with the movies and stuff. They started putting stupid shit in the movies because they thought they could make a better version than what was in the comics that people actually liked. And they kept going and kept going. And then eventually they're like, well, people don't really like this. And they keep bringing up this. They had to, on some level, deep down, they had to admit that it was a valid criticism that they were straying away too far from the comics. But their solution for that
Right.
wasn't, let's just adapt the comics into a screenplay. Their solution was, let's fuck up the comics and then just use that as our source material.
Right. Well, we'll just go ahead and change everything in the comics so that no one can give us valid criticism anymore.
Mm-hmm. Oh, people
Uh,
don't like tokenized characters? Well, let's just tokenize all the characters in the comics. That way people can't say we tokenized them because it's from the
you know,
comics. Like, that's
what's it's
stupid.
sad is because like inherently, I think arguments about racism and that stuff being in film is a good thing. Having good social message. I mean, it's a fucking film, right? Or it's a movie or a show. It's gonna have like it should have layers and themes and stuff like that that's in there that's not just surface level, right? Because we
Mm-hmm.
we think not just on the conscious but the subconscious, right? That's how human beings work.
Mm-hmm.
So having themes of racism is bad and all that shit, that's great. The problem is we're hiring writers that don't understand psychology even slightly. So you get a lot of these real surface ass level plots that don't make you think, but they just tell you, oh, racism is bad, or we're going to put this character in here, and if you don't like it, then you're just a racist. It's like, well, no one's actually learning anything. No one's actually thinking.
and th-
Um,
and that's what I come across when it comes to like a lot of the. I've now started. I used to call them like meme logics,
mhm,
and at the time I think that was a pretty good way to represent it. Now I've started calling
right.
it TikTok logic because in the short form version of the thing, you describe it to try to keep your shit under 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever your mark is, and it's such a shit surface level take of the thing. Like, oh, X-Men, it's an allegory for racism in the
Mm,
early civil
What's
rights movement, but it's like it's really not because in
uh,
this particular situation, the humans kind of have a valid point. When you have people walking around who can accidentally sneeze or take off their glasses and rip apart a fucking school,
mhm.
kind of a problem.
You know,
How do we
you know
address this?
what's funny is I'm actually working on a. It's I'm hoping it's going to come out for Christmas. It probably won't because like I'm there's a lot of research I have to do with it.
Hmm.
I'm calling it Merry Xmas, and I'm basically looking at the entire run of X-Men, like
Hmm.
everything between 1988 and 1992. That was the release of the very first animated X-Men show and
Hmm.
the release of the popular animated X-Men show, the one that everyone knows about. So I'm
Exactly.
looking at the shows, or at least the first seasons of each show. Well, there's only one episode, the pilot thing that got released
Hmm.
prior to the X-Men. Then I'm looking at most of the first season, and then I'm looking at the comic lines. So I'm reading through all the comics right now. I'm playing all the games that came out to understand what was going on with the X-Men at the time.
Exactly.
And yes, they do bring up the idea of the Genosians and everything, but it comes off as less of a at least the very first of that comic line. I think it's called the hold on, I have it written down. The one popular one, the one everyone knows. the one that led to the animated,
Mm-hmm.
one that's the most sold comic of all time. That comic line,
Yeah.
it comes off as more as like a look at like the rise of the Nazis and how Magneto originally was, he was a victim of that stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
how he's slowly turning that way, albeit not the exact same way, because now his whole idea is, genociding humans.
I think
But
that's
not
just
as
taking it to his logic, because originally, like his whole
right
idea, and this is
in,
for every
in
comic
this
run, every
in this
show.
comic run.
Yeah, but
Ironically,
he starts off from the standpoint of like, I just want my people to be happy and be
well,
allowed to
what's
live.
funny is that's when this comic line started.
Yeah.
I don't know as much about the previous. That's why I'm going through and reading a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where this started. Is it started off with a group of people appearing on Asteroid M that were
Mm-hmm.
being targeted by humans, and he was like, "Yo, why are you fuckers coming to my home? We need to be protected." And he sees these mutants. They're clearly used, and they're clearly exploiting the fact that he's very easily triggerable to the point where he's going to start fighting with the humans.
Yeah.
And then you see him slowly start to go crazy and slowly start to become more maniacal, where he wants to drop freaking Asteroid M on the planet and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's written very. I forget why I went off on this fucking tangent.
Well, because we were talking about the people's surface level misunderstandings of the themes and
right,
the characters, and
okay,
then that led into X-Men.
Right. Okay. So ironically enough, the X-Men were more of an, from what I've read so far, right? I'm sure there's gonna be some out like, actually it's the Martin Luther King, and that's like, it wasn't.
Or they're
but
quote a
I'm-
writer or something. Fucking,
Yeah.
I have a whole spiel about
and-
that too, but please.
And you know what? Sure, I'm sure at certain points they were taking inspiration from the civil rights, certain comic lines, right? But
Mhm.
when you really look at the X-Men, at least a lot of their storylines, a lot of the symbolism and metaphors and themes, aside from just the Nazi parallels and all that shit and the World War II, a lot of it actually comes down to religion versus atheism in a lot of ways. If you look at a lot of the storylines, there's God loves, humans kill, the children of the atom. They're very religious connotations, and a lot of the metaphors that I've seen come down between the ideas of different religious and religious ideologies. It's not necessarily the battle between fucking racism and shit like that. I'm sure some of it is, but I think it's funny because a lot of people don't. The X-Men in and of itself, or at least the idea of the X-Men, they have a lot of, I'm not saying that they agree with any sort of religion, but a lot of the questions that they raise are supposed to, or the questions that they posture are supposed to make you think like, wow, is religious persecution or even trying to force a person's religious beliefs onto other people the right thing? And then you have to stop and think like, yeah, no, that's pretty fucked up. But the way they write the characters is they make you think that, okay, well, they do kind of have a point here, right? It's supposed to make you think. And I think it's sad that a lot of people don't realize that there's way more to a lot of these lines than just, racism is bad. Yeah, no shit, fucking racism is bad.
Well, and that's the part of the problem that I take with this kind of stuff too, is because sometimes the writers don't even really realize what they've created in that type of thing. Like the story goes on so long and it changes hands, and people add little things and take some smaller stuff away from that type of thing. So people can take a surface level understanding from this kind of shit and throw it out the window. So like I've read one particular post which made me laugh more than anything else, and it was based around the meme in the show for She-Hulk, where it says just like wants equality, still wants you to pay, still expects you to pay for dinner. And yeah, see that the same thing happened to me too, because I've only laughed air quotes 3 times watching She-Hulk, and the first one was when I saw that, and I'm just like, God, that is a fucking cringe meme, but still kind of on point, right?
Did I laugh at all during She-Hulk?
No, definitely not like ha 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 ha. This is so funny, but it's more like a.
The only real episode I liked of the show, and it's funny that you get a lot of people on like YouTube. There's even a couple people that I watching,
Mm-hmm.
where they talk about how like there's a whole bunch of what are you even talking about, man? Like,
Wait, hold, one
okay.
more time. The mic cut out. A whole lot of
Oh
what?
my bad. Like there's a whole lot of racism and misogyny towards She-Hulk. I'm like, no, it's not.
They just
It's
throw that
people that
shit out
have
like it's a volley of
yeah.
darts.
Well, a lot of these YouTubers that I watch, some of these YouTubers I watch have a lot of subscribers, and they get a lot of hate in their. And that's their response usually is a bunch of trolls that are just misogynist. I'm like, no, it's because the show sucks.
I don't hate
Like the
She-Hulk
show,
because she is a woman. I hate She-Hulk
no,
because the writing is fucking awful.
yeah, and I don't hate the writers personally.
No.
I just hate their writing. Their writing is not. And you know what? I'm sure fair criticism would be like, oh, well, you've never written anything. I've never written anything that's been published like on a Marvel scale level, I should say. And I'll give them a bit of leeway. That's probably a lot of pressure, right? Any new writer coming on to that, if it's their first big gig, I'm leading to a joke, don't worry. Their first big gig and they've never written on a high profile team, that's got to be maddening, right? Like anybody would freak, right? If I got on a show and I it never had a big deal TV show. Okay, the punchline is the fucking head writer's the one that wrote Pickle, Rick and Morty. You mean to tell me that you are on a high profile show like Rick and Morty that everyone likes to quote as the greatest fucking show of all time, and yet you put this out? Something's wrong here. Something doesn't connect. Right?
Reminds me of the whole thing with like Kathleen Kennedy getting the job that she had, because it's like she was partnered with Steven Spielberg. So if we're being 100% honest about this shit, and you see, there's good collaboration. You and I do this pretty frequently, so I'm gonna fucking like humble brag for both of us a little bit here.
Yeah, do it.
You have an idea, you have a good concept for it, but it's the filler shit in the middle that's a little hard to actually put in there. I have too much of a habit on focusing on like the tiny little details that bridge those gaps, so that was one of the reasons why we started working out for that type of thing. Exactly.
Yep.
So I think these people keep getting credit for shit that they don't deserve credit for because they contributed a single idea that everybody else went, that's a good spark, caught fire, and made fucking Pickle Rick, which in my opinion is the worst episode of the show that's ever been released until the newer seasons came out, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, Dan Harmon, you fucking really fall apart after season 4.
I think you might actually be onto something, because when you look at Kathleen Kennedy's filmography, she's got a lot of big name shows and stuff under her belt as a producer. Let's just look through it real quick. Not the most recent show. Let me scroll down here. I'm on IMDb. Those that are wanting to play along.
While you're looking for that too, because it's one of those things. Because it's like, okay, here's an initial idea, and then somebody else goes like, "Ooh, that's inspiring," and it like leads them to write this fucking atrocious thing, and you have to either come back with it going like, "Okay, we're on a good start. Let's see what we can do to iron this out," or they write something that's even better than what you had come into play, and your response could either be like, fuck you, I'm never working with you again, because you're threatened by their success. But the problem with this is that usually in a collaborative setting, you're like, ooh, that's way better than what I fucking came up with. Let's just cram that into this spot, and we'll try to make everything else work around it, because this is fucking gold.
And
it bothers me.
I will give Kathleen Kennedy, this is probably the only compliment I will give, and even what's her name, Jessica Gao. Again, I got nothing against them personally. I don't fucking know them. But on their own, I mean, clearly their work speaks for themselves. Maybe they work better in collaborations with other people, right? Because just looking at fucking Kathleen Kennedy's things, right? Her first role as a producer was on Poltergeist, a fucking classic movie. And she was an associate producer. Then she was a producer on E.T., associate producer on Twilight Zone, the movie, associate producer on Temple of Doom, which it is debatable. It's still the weakest one, but it's not. It's one of the best ones.
Okay, the weakest one of a fucking amazing trilogy is really still a pretty good accomplishment, in my opinion.
Right, I agree. And a lot of people forget that, oh yeah, Crystal Skull that's the worst one, but that's not even that bad of a... In hindsight, Crystal Skull is not that bad of a... Like, I'm sorry, everyone can fucking hate on me. In hindsight, a lot of the shit we have, it's a lot better than a lot of them, but
they should have kept it for the actual like Christian mythology that they were going for with the other 3 movies, and not fucking ancient aliens. I don't know.
Bro, fucking aliens.
What the fuck was happening in the early 2010s?
At that time,
but
In the early 2010s, it was either fucking aliens or so. It
Yeah,
was fucking aliens.
everything. Well, that's the only
Um,
reason we have Prometheus is because he wanted to make an Ancient Aliens movie, and they're like, well, why don't you do that one again? You did really good with that one before.
yeah,
And
that's a
he's
good
like,
point,
fine,
actually.
fuck it, but I'm gonna make it Ancient Aliens.
I think it should have just been, honestly, I think Prometheus would have gotten way more love had it would be held up, I think, a lot higher in higher standing. A lot of the alien shit they try to shoehorn in there kind of, but
Yeah, if they would have focused on that and not on the actual xenomorph or something like that,
right.
and just focused on like because the original idea was much more of it being okay, it's ancient aliens and a lot less xenomorph, but it's mostly like the crew keeps getting infected with the black goo and turning into like different kinds of monsters and shit, and they veered away from that way too heavy. God, it's on a side note, if you have some free time and you want to, I believe the original screenplay is just available on the internet for you to look for. You could read
For
the whole
which one?
thing. It's a fucking Prometheus, what it was supposed to be in
Oh
the
yeah.
original
Oh
draft.
yeah, it's on there.
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
I did read it. It would have been a much better movie.
Mm-hmm.
Much
And
fucking
then
better.
and then they had all the we just said that all the alien fucking had to shoehorn in there.
Yeah.
But circling back to Kathleen Kennedy, right? So
Mhm.
I think the biggest issue she has when it comes to, I know this is supposed to be about she, and we'll get back. This will kind of segue to
That's kind of all encompassing the shit that made She-Hulk
right.
even happen. So yeah, continue.
Yeah. I'll just run through a couple more big ones. Gremlins, Goonies, Back to the Future trilogy. We've got freaking Roger Rabbit. We've got, I mean, I don't even have to scroll up that high to get to good movies. Cape Fear with Robert, a really underrated movie. Hook, which I think is also underrated as fuck. Jurassic Park, Schindler's List. I mean, this is just the night. Okay, Congo, but uh, even the Flintstones movie. But again, this is all just in the 90s. We're not even in. So I think what Kathleen Kennedy and probably Jessica Gao to a certain extent is they need their own Kathleen Kennedy. And what I mean by that is for the longest time, she was attached to Spielberg, right? She was one of Spielberg's like right hand, people and everything. And maybe that's what she needs is someone on like her. I mean, maybe she does have one. They're just not really good, or maybe all the blame does fall on Star Wars stuff. I don't know,
Well,
but I feel like she needs someone like that to be like, it's not a bad idea, but let's not do that, or let's do this because when you look at some of her early credits, like just think of freaking let me just pull a random one out of here. Earlier on, right? Gremlins. That should not be as good of a movie as it is, right? It really shouldn't be, but it is, and it's because of the team that's involved with it. I think a lot of these people want to. They take more of a micromanaging approach instead of, and clearly it suffers for it.
And it's hard to tell whose
Marvel
idea goes
is
where. You can get a bit of a suspicion. Like,
notorious for being micromanaging with their fucking shit.
Yeah. Yep.
I like
which
how when
is
you go on
funny.
Jessica Gao's IMDb, the first thing that pops up is She-Hulk twerking. That's her legacy now.
God. The worst fucking one, too. Circling back to a joke
You
that I
still
made
there?
earlier.
Did I lose you?
Oh.
Did you lose me?
No, I can still hear you. Can you hear me? Hold on. Let's double check this. I think I might have just lost you.
I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear you at all.
This is going to be a funny one to add.
Oh, okay. There we go.
It's
I'm
working?
back now.
Okay.
Yeah, I accidentally pulled my headphones. Sorry if I was talking over you there for a second.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. But to highlight a point that you made there too, because this is one of those things. It's hard to pinpoint who actually has like the input on one thing or another. Because let me double check what her name. I want to say her name was it was Phoebe Cates, right? In Gremlins, yeah.
Yep.
If I was going to say, like, if there was a bit that reminded me of something that Kathleen Kennedy had a hand in writing or promoting or putting forward later on, it had to be the whole, like, why Phoebe Cates' character hates Santa Claus story. Because the dude, and it's kind of funny because you kind of see him just really acting like a dude in the background. walking around trying to like piece together something that can help him out, like put a weapon together. He's looking for something that's useful, and she's staring into a fucking candle, reciting this story about how her dad did something really retarded and tried to shove himself down the chimney and died of smoke inhalation or something, and or starved to death. And I don't know if it broke his neck. He broke his neck. That's what it was.
Mhm.
And the only reason they could tell he was gone was because that they could fucking smell this horrible reek coming from the chimney. And it's like, hey, I appreciate you doing this whole trauma dump right now, but for the love of fucking God, there's monsters trying to eat people in the town. Can we maybe wrap this up?
Going on. We kind of have more important things going on. Slight tangent. I'm looking at Jessica Gaub's IMDb, and she really hasn't written that much in terms of just like 20 different things. But like one of the things that she was a writer on earlier on in her career, she wrote 4 episodes of The High Fructose Adventures of the Annoying Orange. Say that, and I see that it tracks. Like, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, sweet miserable hell! Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Silicon Valley. I fucking hate Silicon Valley. I'll never understand why people like this. It's like, it's some of the most, like, I can't even think of a good example because I mentally blocked out the show. The only thing that I remember is that I did not fucking like it when I watched it. It's one of those shows where it's like every character in it is the most like California fucking sarcastic asshole.
Well, ironically, a lot of these people think that's what all of America or the whole world is like. It's fucking California. It's like, no, it's
Oh geez, I still
really
have a hard
not.
time with you know how when like what's that thing like the California accent, how they kind of start a sentence without realizing what they're actually going to be saying, and then everything has this like weird kind of a long draw, like they're just really feeling their way through it without actually being. It sounds impactful because they're talking slow and measured, or they're talking really
They're not
fast.
saying anything.
Yeah, it's like you just yapped on for 20 minutes, and the entire time it sounded like you were piecing together what you were going to say in the middle of saying it. It was a fucking chore to get through.
If you want to see something really funny, go onto Jessica Gao's IMDb, and under credits, go to archive footage and look at the 3 people that are on her archived footage credits. For those playing at home,
archive footage
for Jessica Gao.
Let me see. Oh yeah, I'm on there. Not 100%. So are you talking about the ones with like the related videos, or?
So when you click on credits and go to archive footage, there's 3 previous archive footage that Jessica Gao's, and it's for fucking Nerdrotic, Star Wars Girl, and Josiah Rise.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, like I'm just like, wait a minute, they have their own credits.
That's amazing.
Like the fact that they're even on IMDb kind of blows my mind, to be honest.
Let's see.
And Critical Drinker's got a 7.6 out of 10 though.
That's great. Well, he actually is a writer, so
he is.
I need to get around to actually checking out his stuff.
Drunk 3PO.
Okay, there we go. Archive footage. Yep, there. Okay, I see what you're talking about now. My dumbass went straight down to the videos, and I was just like, okay, I see video of her and Megan of She-Hulk and Megan Thee Stallion twerking. Which, on a side note, I'm gonna be on. I want to tell you about the first time I ever heard that fucking name. My sister was talking about her, and because I'm not into pop music, so I don't fucking know what's going on with anything in the music scene, pop-wise, because it all sounds like hammered garbage to me lately. And by lately, I mean like since 2005.
That's fair. Ironically, I'm more on the I'll indulge in a lot of the modern pop stuff, and I'll be honest, even I didn't know who the fuck she was when popped up She-Hulk. I was like, who the fuck is Megan Thee Stallion?
As far as I can tell, she's like one of the other 900 fucking female artists who tries to trademark her sticking her tongue out and going, ah.
Yeah, I don't understand why they do that. That must be like a...
Sexually suggestive.
Well, yeah. Obviously that, yeah. It must be like a Zoomer thing or something.
Gotta be. Well, actually,
I'm just fucking old now. Like, that's the kicker.
I want to say this is one of those, in my opinion, this is one of those few things that kind of like started with white chicks instead of white chicks like adopting it themselves. So you know that
Ironic.
thing that like Miley Cyrus used to do, where she like made this like weird winky face with sticking her tongue out like the fucking emoji.
So this might be like an extension of that. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. Started out with
That
that, and
actually,
somebody like, oh, okay, that looks. I think that looks cute, and all that the sticking the tongue out the side of their mouth thing. That is the female equivalent of dudes who wear the hat not all the way on their head.
and you know what's sad? I did that back in the day. I thought I was so cool.
I know, see,
But the
it's
thing is,
just one of those things. When you're a dumbass teenager, these are the things you do.
that's and that's I think that you just hit the nail on the head right there. When you're a dumbass teenager, not a grown ass adult. Again, I'm not even. I don't really give a fuck about my thought process with that. Like, right, all right, if that's what you're doing and you're into that sort of thing, that's cool. I think it's kind of stupid looking, but you know what? Clearly, I'm not a multimillionaire. I might be doing. However, comma space, I still think it looks stupid. But
Agreed.
that's my own personal. They might think it's not, and clearly they have way more money than I do.
And I like the idea of people making up their own style of things. You know, like
I do too.
I don't like kind of like the corporatized idea of like, oh, this is business casual and you have to follow that. It's like that's fucking gross. Can we all not wear the same three things, please?
I think another one, you can look at another trend center when it comes. I do remember a time so anti Nicki Minaj because she was very like.
It's clipping really bad. I think it might be my connection to you.
Oh my bad.
Right.
A lot of this reminds me of like Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B.
Yeah.
You can actually pinpoint a lot of this back to Nicki Minaj, right? And
Her
it's
feud with
crazy.
Lil Kim or whatever the fuck her name was.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm not saying that like Megan Thee Stallion or Cardi B and them are ripping off Nicki Minaj. But you can look at it more like kind of like how Star Wars influenced science fiction forever, right? Or how Dune did, or whatever. Pick your science fiction. And how no one directly copies it anymore, but they see a formula and they're making their own. Without this wouldn't exist. That's what I believe. So, ironically enough, I do remember a time when everyone was so fucking anti Nicki Minaj because she was so out there and weird. And it's so funny to look at a lot of these artists. A lot of them will look back at Nicki Minaj and go, "Oh wow, she was tame." And it's like, wait, what? Really? But it's true.
Compared to what? You know, it's like compared to later on situations with people like basically scissoring each other on fucking stage. So it's like,
which,
okay.
I'll be the first one to say I'm not against it, but
maybe not at the
same
Super Bowl.
time. Well, my whole thing with the Super Bowl, right, is it's actually really funny. I'm ripping off James Rolfe. He made a statement a long time ago where he said, "What I don't understand about the Super Bowl is how they." At halftime, they always have this pussy ass band that's always like, "Oh, peace and love in the world," and blah blah blah. Why don't they have like Metallica or some shit on there where they're just somebody that it's like, "Fuck yeah, let's play some fucking football." It's like, no, peace and love. Go back to any single one of the fucking Super Bowls in the past, like that makes you want to fucking punch, because there's not one of them makes you. That's the whole point of football. It's to take a ball to the other side of the fucking field and hit people along the. That's.
Well, even if it's a fucking big deal to you, like is
they try to
such a terrible fucking place to talk about anything like that, because there's a blood sport, essentially.
Well, I'm gonna go on a big tangent here. Why is it that they try to push peace and all this crap so hard in football? It's like, it's so weird. It's like the exact. I mean, I get it. I do get it. It's because it's one of the most popular things in the U.S. It still is. In terms of television, it's one of the few things that's television alive. If you look at the numbers.
Well, this is the part that doesn't make sense anymore, is because I don't think it is. You know,
you don't think so?
Yeah, I think the only thing that really sells well that they keep doing is anti-establishment kind of shit. Like,
well, okay, if we're talking just like creative medium, like creative medium, I think that's just what's selling well on the televisions, right? But here's where I think they're getting their numbers crossed. Is because it's a smaller demographic now than it was fucking 10, 15, 20 years ago. Because the few people that are still watching television this shit up. Most everyone else is on YouTube. They're streaming services. Also, and I'm not saying people don't watch TV. I'll be honest. In our house, we don't have it hooked up.
Well, that's part of the the
we
Nielsen data is
watch
fucking stupid. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
Nope, it used to up until I would say 2015, maybe 2016. Yeah. That's when everything started to change.
I feel like I take that as a bit of an insult too. Like, oh, you've been selected to be a Nielsen family. Like, don't you fucking call me basic like that.
I am not poor.
Yeah. No, well, it'd be like that. No, that's a fair point. But they choose families to do it based off of what they like. Oh, based off of our research, you're one of the representative members of the largest demographic of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay.
Well, and I'll even go as far as to say this, right? Because of the way entertainment is now, we're still about 5 years out from things to stop being fucking overly ridiculous. Because part of the problem is it actually comes down to like our generation. Mm-hmm. I would even go as far as to say like people from my group, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower. And primarily because I do remember being in high school and having a lot of people that would discuss ideas. Okay, I'll tell a story. Back when I was in high school, I remember I used to sleep every single day in my government and class. Every day I'd walk in, just go to sleep immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I've told you this story, but I'll tell it on the cast here. And then I woke up somehow, I don't know how the fuck, paying attention for once in the class. And this girl, like, I had never had a conversation with her before in my... I knew who she was, but never... She went on this whole tirade about how we should ban the retarded because that could upset the mentally challenged people in the school, right? And the crazy thing is, I remember sitting there watching everyone nodding their head because we don't want them to feel bad.
And I'm sitting
there like... Yep. And I'm sitting there just like... What the fuck are you... No. And so I rose my hand and I just straight up said, I'm like, well, no offense, completely disagree because, and they're like, why? And what was funny was my teacher who just knew me as the sleeping guy was just surprised that I could fucking talk. I said that, but here's the issue that I have with it. Like, yeah, it might be for good reasons. Like, and yeah, I don't want anybody upset or uncomfortable or anything like that. But the problem is if you start banning words because they make people feel bad, well, then next day you ban the word book. Next day you could ban the word whatever. Because all it takes is for someone to go, that makes me feel a little... Okay, well, because we banned this one, now we have to ban this one. And people will argue and say, oh, which is funny because I got called to talk to the teacher after that. So everyone did the whole ooh thing. But
we're all in a big group because we don't want to be the other, so you get to be the other. Even though most of us agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, and to my teacher's credit, he made me talk the day after that.
He made you
because
what?
He made me talk every single day in class after that because he couldn't believe that I was just sitting there fucking sleeping every day. He's like, you mean to tell me you've been sitting in class this whole year sleeping when you've been able to say stuff like that?
It's like, hey, I'm not sleeping because I'm dumb. I'm sleeping because you're fucking boring.
Yeah, he's like, you're gonna talk every single day in class now, or you're gonna fail my class. I'm like, fuck. I was already failing his class anyway, but I ended up passing because of that. So, it had a good ending.
But the soft bigotry of low expectations, right? Oh, he's dumb. I'm not gonna make him try.
Yep, I got a C in that class, so
gross.
Got it.
I had the exact opposite problem with my no. Okay, I'm remembering why you told me the story in the first place.
I wouldn't even say I'm smart. I just logically it doesn't make any sense. Like I absolutely am. I'll say that. But if I'm kind of an idiot and I can see bad of an idea, taking emotional responses and wanting to get rid of them because I feel a little ignorant, then that should tell you something. And I'm not even that smart of a person.
And I think She-Hulk, as well as like one of the other examples I wanted to use for this type of thing, is a really good example of the intention and the execution not matching up with each other. Starship Troopers. And I will go to the fucking grave on this because Paul Verhoeven, the guy that directed the movie poorly in my opinion, because if he had been more hands-on and done the thing that he wanted to do, the movie probably would have been a nothing, just absolute nothing burger. Because the whole point, and I love that this is the thing. Like, we can see the imagery Like, we're not dumb, but
Yep.
people take it at the surface level. They think the reason why people relate to the human characters and love them and everything that's going on with the Federation and stuff like that, even though they're clearly dressed as the fucking National Socialist Party members, and Neil Patrick Harris's character is supposed to be freaking Adolf himself. They didn't add the substance to the imagery. So it's basically it's the exact opposite of, like, oh, this was supposed to be an Impossible Whopper, but I couldn't find any plants to make this out of, so I ended up using beef instead. And it's like, so you just made a fucking cheeseburger. You roundabout made a cheeseburger, because everything in the imagery, everything in the that he was trying to do was to make like a super anti-fascist thing, but he gave the bugs all of the negative qualities of the of what you would get from like communist and nationalist socialist type why am I blanking on the word here, the images and the like the advertisements and stuff that they made. I can't think of the word, because like there's a kind of a famous communist thing where it's just like, on one hand, for like the the Americans and the Western recruiting ads and stuff like that were intended to be like, you too can demonstrate the strength, can contribute
Propaganda?
to the, that's the fucking word, yeah, thank you.
Propaganda? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because the American
The only
propaganda
reason-
was individualistic, and you contributing your individualistic nature and skills to making this thing happen. But then on the flip side of that, the communist one was like, yes, every man in the communist country is a superhero, Superman kind of person. Nobody, we're all amazing. So it's the bugs have that thing. They're all there is nothing that distinguishes one soldier bug from another soldier bug. There is nothing that distinguishes any of the ass blaster bugs from any of the other ones. They all effectively only exist to fulfill their singular function, and that is all they are capable of doing. But all of the human characters have individual skills and things about them that make their contribution to the war effort astonishing. Johnny Rico gets highlighted not because he's handsome, but because he pulled off some crazy shit, and they wanted to have other soldiers emulate that individual skill. So the dude was trying to make a super anti-fascist thing, but he gave all of the fucking fascist characteristics to the bugs, and he gave all of the like super soldiers. Every single individual can be the key to victory to the humans.
I would challenge anybody to go watch, I think it's in season 3 of Futurama. It's called, the episode's called War is Heck, I believe. Mm-hmm. They have a better anti-fascist and anti-establishment message. Starship Troopers did. Mm-hmm. I like Starship Troopers, but ironically enough, Futurama did the message better. The exact message that I think that he wanted to go with was better done in Futurama, ironically enough. Keep talking. I need to go on a quick break real quick. I need to use the bathroom, but I will be back in like 2 seconds.
Okay. So long story.
I love all of you.
So long story short, I kind of missed a pretty key point to the Starship Troopers rant there too, in that he the director Paul Verhoeven, he didn't give these traits to it. He fucked up in not giving the traits where he wanted them to be, because the actual book, has some good what's the word I'm looking for here? Key imagery, key factors, key situations that highlight the thing that they're trying to push, for all of these things being the way they are. With the anti-war, pro-war, pro-individualistic, anti-government, pro-government, all of these things that essentially this complicated situation over who gets to vote, who's allowed to do this thing, who's allowed to do that thing. Oddly enough, like Sargon of Akkad's channel does a much better dive into this. So if you've somehow come across this situation more before you've seen his breakdown of Starship Troopers is, I think, legitimately one of my favorite takes that I've seen on it, because all of the things that the director tried to do and all of the things that the people who are fans of it and quote the director, this is a really good way to highlight something where the creation itself takes on a different form than what the creator had intended for it. So as far as Paul Verhoeven is concerned, this movie was supposed to be one thing, but because he fucked up and just made Starship Troopers the screenplay. All of the things that made the humans the good guys in the book ended up making them the good guys in the movie. All of the things that made the bugs the bad guys in the book made the bugs the bad guys in the movie. And the same thing is going to be true in the She-Hulk thing. You can't have both things happen at the same time. You can't put this self-inserted situation, whether it actually happened in your real life or just an example of stories that you've heard, however it played out in the writer's room. You can't do things that betray the character that you're trying to highlight. So on one hand, you're trying to make it seem like, oh, she has this really hard life. But you're going to have that complaint being raised to the Hulk, which I'm not going to go into too much detail on that type of situation because it's been fucking done to death. If you don't know about his backstory by this point, I don't understand where you've been in this kind of situation, even just taking the movie side of it. So the key thing in this is that she wants things to be a certain way. She wants certain people to be involved. But the beliefs override what actually happens in reality. I think we've all been into a situation where we've thought we've connected with somebody, we thought we had something really good going, and then all of a sudden they just off the face of the earth. Can't reach them, they don't respond, nothing connects you to that kind of thing. And you have to come to terms with that reality. She-Hulk doesn't. She just needs to be herself, and she'll be better. And everybody will blow smoke up her ass telling her how amazing of a person she is, and how this guy just wasn't worth her time because, you know, he said all the right things, he did all the right things, but in the end of it, he still smoked out of existence. So, the point that you're trying to make here is that I don't understand the point that you're trying to make. Some shit just happens to you and you still have to believe you're a boss? Or are you trying to say that this particular situation just highlights a larger overarching problem that you're going to have with the demographic of people that you're trying to interact with? Or are you trying to say that you need to be able to pick better? Are you trying to say that this situation doesn't work? Are you trying to say that one part of this was the ideal situation, but you can still make mistakes? There's too much and not an actual point being made to it. Very much like the court cases, how you guys couldn't even consult with somebody who knew what they were talking about. You just went off whatever felt right. Okay. I can't even. There's too much that kind of consistently plays a part in this type of thing where you want your hero to have the best possible outcome, but you don't want to earn that outcome. The things get written in such a way that it's like, this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and there's nothing connecting these things logically between the other. All that does is break people's immersion, throws off their sensibility of like how this world actually is supposed to function, and just completely ruins the individualistic message. So if you wanted this to be a sitcom, you should have written a sitcom. If you wanted this to be a deep, thought-provoking series of events that detail the issues of dating in the modern world, if you wanted this to be a thing that would be like, oh, what would happen if this person just got these amazing powers? So the whole fucking show feels like a reference to a bunch of much better things, but they don't know how to make their own thing with their own individualistic idea.
Look, I mean, you can shit talk Ms. Marvel as much as you want, but it's the best thing the MCU. No, I'm just
Honestly, that's a fucking fair response.
you know, it's funny because I'm sure you're talking about She-Hulk, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was basically just. I started off with the thing of the intention not matching up with the execution. Spoke a little bit more clearly on the Paul Verhoeven side of things because I forgot to mention that the reason why he fucked this up is because he wasn't as hands-on with it as he probably should have been to make the thing that he was trying to. So everybody just adapted the fucking book into the movie with the wrong imagery, basically. And on the flip side of that too, this She-Hulk, they keep trying to put too many things into this. So pretty straightforward. I already used the example of her trying to date episodes. so we'll kind of shift that into the very last episode that which you had already brought up, where the conflict of this is that this doesn't feel right. It doesn't make sense. There's too many things happening here. It's too predictable. There's nothing of substance in this. It's just the man are bad, the woman good, and we have to resolve this, and then this happens. So they keep writing this shit out so that it's like, and then this happens, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, but there's no logical series of events to justify these things even occurring in the first place.
You know what's funny? If they wanted to like a template how to write okay, in the modern day. I won't use the tried and true old trope of back in the 80s or the 90s, the 2000s, or even the 2010s, strong female characters, right? Just fucking do what Werewolf by Night did. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Go into detail for that. I'm gonna go grab my food real quick.
Okay, so for those that don't know, and side tangent on another good on Disney Plus. Watch The First Alaska. It's a great show. So Werewolf by Night, if you haven't seen, I'll give the brief synopsis. 45 minutes short, with a bunch of horror shit in it, right? So there's a character who's a werewolf. I won't spoil who, you'll figure out in like 3 seconds. And then there's a female character in there that's the daughter of the person that's bringing all these different people. Should I explain it? Her character in that is really, really well done. The fact that she gets in there, ahead of time that she's had training. Mary Sue. Well, they establish early on that she is a monster hunter. She comes from a family of monster hunters. So you can easily look at that and, okay, we understand why she is as good as she is. She was literally the daughter of the best fucking monster. And she's her own fucking character. She's not just that character gender swapped or anything like that. She's literally just an awesome character. She's badass. She's flawed. But at the end of the day, she overcomes adversity and is able to learn a message and become something bigger than what she is. Right? And that's part of the issue I think a lot of people have with female characters. It's not that like they dislike them. It's just that they're written so like, I'll be honest, disrespectfully. Like I think it's a bit disrespectful to say that women don't go through struggles or have their own struggles. Right? I think it's very disrespectful. It's like, no, of course they do. So why not show their struggles and them overcoming it, and not a cheap bullshitty way? Actually show them utilizing their ability that they have or that they've earned, buzzword you want to use, to use that to overcome said adversity. And they do that in Werewolf by Night. We know, like I've said, she had her upbringing as a monster hunter, right? And she was able to prove that. So her story arc is literally a trial of being able to overcome all the bullshit she's going through that to become the heir to the throne. The entire story, granted, okay, my biggest issue is that it's called, he's not really a character, but the other thing, if you're going to... That's okay. So let's say my biggest issue with Werewolf by Night is the fact that it's called Werewolf by Night and he's not the main character. That's a bit annoying, but it does kind of fit into the old Universal horror style of monster movie. So I'll give it a slight pass. But if we're looking at just the lead protagonist, lead protagonist in the movie, her arc makes perfect sense. She was a monster hunter before, came back to she grew up learning how to be a monster hunter. Left, tried to live her own life, came back to take the throne, and she had to do it by overcoming every single obstacle. The fact they were able to do this when She-Hulk couldn't do it in 9 weeks is fucking insane. Like, Werewolf by Night is if you want a modern example, just in Disney, that's how you do it. If you're going to do it, that's how you should. It's not perfect, but it's way better than fucking 90% put out recently.
The only criticism that I will add to this, and this is a problem that I have extending from things like tokenized characters, stop trying to trick people into liking the shit that you're doing. Just make it better.
Like there's no reason they need to do that. It's insulting. I had mentioned how I think it's insulting to like women characters, right? Like, okay, so you're trying to
I lost you.
And oh yeah, I'm still here. I said I think it's a bit insulting to women to say that they don't have adversity or real adversity. Like, because women go through bullshit all the time, just like any other fucking human being on the planet. So why not show the actual adversity that they go through and abilities that they've either picked up along the way, they've learned, and see them overcoming that. You don't have to make it like this cheap bullshit. Like, so there's a saying in wrestling called getting a cheap pop, right? And you can get a cheap pop by walking out into the audience, like let's say there's a and going, I hate this guy. He's a jerk. And everyone's going to cheer for you, right? Okay, well, yeah, clearly he's a jerk. He's the fucking villain. And you don't need to do that. You can show that you're a better character by, spoiler alert, fucking showing that they're a better character. She-Hulk, the guy, I mean, pretty fucking horrendously videotaped her and him having sex, put it online, and then instead of, overcoming that, she turned into a fucking monster and tried to kill people. Yes, in that circumstance, absolutely. I probably would do the exact same fucking thing as her. But wasn't the whole point of the show to show that she was better than that?
Yep.
Like, well, I mean, feel like you
they keep doing
kind
that.
of crossed your wires there.
They keep doing that every time. You can't start out by saying something like, "Oh, this guy is the greatest fighter who ever lived,"
and
then 12 seconds later, show him getting his ass kicked.
Right. If they're gonna go that route, then fucking at least go all the way with it, right? So it's not defying my expectation by saying, "Oh, she can overcome all adversity," and then show her fucking losing her shit. That's not no. If they would have wrote her slowly, like losing her shit throughout the season, then having the breaking point, that would have made more sense. Instead, it comes off so cheap. Like they didn't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck. Or if they did, they didn't realize until the last second, and then that's why they tried that stupid twist in the end. But that's what I think most likely happened. They wrote themselves into a corner. But my long fucking rambling tangent is how I feel like, if I'm being constructive, if I'm fantasy booking this too, the way they could have made it better is if they were going to go the route that She-Hulk is fucking Jesus and holier than thou, someone else, then don't show her getting pissed off and trying to fucking. Just don't show it. Literally do the exact opposite. Show her not losing her cool.
And this is one of the issues that I've taken with the whole Hulk has DID thing. Yeah, because that's a very recent thing.
DID?
Yeah, dissociative identity disorder, multiple personalities.
Oh, okay. Which I don't think is kind of. But anyway, go ahead.
I think it's a fucking cop out in my opinion, and it's been a cop out since they started doing it. I would have very, very much rather had the idea play out where the reason why Hulk loses himself and acts like a completely different person isn't because he has another personality to wrestle with. It's because of the fact that he is at an extreme level of rage every time he turns into the Hulk. And you can have more of that thing of like he's a separate, because they've always had the idea that the Hulk version is a separate brain chemistry from the person that it has. So technically speaking, the Hulk only appears stupid because he's a fucking rage monster and he's constantly dealing with the impulses that come with being angry. But if you want him to relax, you have to treat him like he's a completely different person. So eventually, to get the type of things that they want, it makes sense to make him a completely different personality. In the case with Jen, it would have made more sense to have her wrestle with the idea that she, as She-Hulk, is the apex version of herself. And when she goes back to being Jen, she feels weak and mousy and can't, like, imagine for part of your day.
Well, that's what the original. Okay, I don't know. I'm just gonna as versed in the She-Hulk continuity as I should be, but that's literally what the original She-Hulk was about. She struggled with the want and desire to be She-Hulk, and then she decided, you know what, I like being She-Hulk more, and then she never turned back into her. That's why she's. And I know that with the show, they were kind of like half-assedly, wrestling with that idea, but not really actually like pulling it off very well. I think what you're onto would have been better. So good. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, you're fine.
it's kind of basically what they should have done to begin with. I'm not saying that they needed to make it, but I think that what again, since we're fantasy booking it, what they could have done to make it better. I'm not just about talking. I want to see this shit be good. If they wanted the whole idea of these trolley fucks being there, right? Okay, if that's really what they want to go with, all right. One, the twist should have been in the third episode, changed the whole fuck. Two, and then they could have brought Daredevil first. And then two, why not have her wrestle with being either one or the other, where she has to make a choice, right? Like she has to make a choice, or she's going to lose one or the other, or she loses both, right? Make her make a choice. Because then it would make it easier for the whole identity plot they were trying to do throughout this series, with Titania stealing the She-Hulk name, her deciding that she likes it, her wrestling with the fact that people only like her for being show. Because I'll give the show this. The one episode I really liked, was when she was in the jury, right? Mm-hmm. And she was trying to get the She-Hulk fucking trademark back. And the one dude who I will give them a bit of credit for, in the actual what's it called? Promotion material. Mm-hmm. They showed this guy off as being kind of like the person or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Only to find out that he really only liked because she was the She-Hulk. And they okay, yeah, at the end of the day, they wanted to do it so man bad or whatever. But I will give them a little bit of credit, because they didn't paint him like a complete piece of shit. In all intents and purposes, she did technically catfish him. Yep. And although they do try to paint it off as like, oh, well, nobody loves the She-Hulk. And they did. They just, kind of tap danced over the fact that, she technically catfished him. But I like the fact that they didn't completely bury the guy for being like, no, I don't really prefer her. I prefer the She.
Well, if there was any difference in her fucking character, it would have made that more clear, because it's like the way the guy said it is the way it could have played out, where it's like, well, no, like She-Hulk is perfect for me. I love a powerful, assertive, beautiful, like, and yet elegant woman. But Jen's just like, she's not that.
And you know what? They could have easily played that into that at the very ending, where he's like, you know what? I want the She. And they were practically gift wrapped a fucking social commentary message that they could have done, and they didn't. They literally could have had him come up and say, "It is a cliche all they want," but half the fucking show is full of them. Have the dude come and be like, you know what? I made a mistake. I think I do like Jen just as much as the She-Hulk, and have her go, you know what? No, I don't think I will. To show that she's powerful enough to be like, no, if you don't like me at my Jen, then you can She-Hulk. Isn't that like half of the messages in this shit? It's like, oh, you're a fucking boss queen or whatever the fuck.
Well, they're just fucking half-ass versions of those slogans, because like in the in the continuity of the situation,
know the whole fucking slogan. Like they were practically gift wrapped the whole thing right there.
Yeah, but that's like that's my problem that I have with them. There is that they try way too hard to. What's the word I'm looking for here? Even if you were going to take this from like the standpoint of, what's a good way to describe it? Like Teen Wolf, the original Teen Wolf from the 80s.
Michael J. Fox one?
Exactly, because like all of a sudden one day the dude gets all of the things that he wished he would have had. And then, it comes with him being a fucking hairy werewolf, but
the monkey's paw, or the wolf's paw in this kind.
Exactly. When he turns into a wolf, he is athletically good, he's confident, he's powerful, he's everything that he wished he would have been when he was just himself. Just Scott. And that's the thing that's literally fucking She-Hulk. She's everything that she wishes that she would have been. But the problem is that they're trying to turn what her ambitions are into basically her being a man. And then these weird little scenarios where she has the men approaching her, they still want to have like the cake and eat it too kind of a thing. I hate that fucking phrase, but it's fitting for this one here. You want him to be apologetic for approaching you, but still confident enough to approach you. You want him to be kind enough and understanding enough to accept you for what's happening in the situation, but also not like so weak that that it makes you feel like you're the one that's in charge all the time. What the fuck do you want? I don't understand. This person doesn't exist.
You know what? I feel like. Oh nope, I lost it. Never mind.
Okay.
Keep going.
Well,
I had a response to that, and then oh no, actually I do.
Mm-hmm.
They tried that. Remember Wonder Woman 84?
Yeah.
Literally, it's the same story, except in that one she technically slept with someone without their consent. Whoops. Didn't think that one through, did they?
No, they did not. They could have just brought the guy back from the dead, but no, they had to pick the weirdest, creepiest fucking way. That would have been something to struggle with, where you're happy that he's back, but it's weird the way he's back.
Yeah, I just don't know how they. It's funny. I was in a precarious situation where I hadn't actually seen the first Wonder Woman movie, so I saw Wonder Woman 84. Tangent, but I was like, "This is the franchise people like so much. This sucks." Like, ugh. Like it just that was not a good movie. Like the idea was good, but man, that was like the first draft. Like you need to go back and write 3 more drafts of this shit before you fucking put that on.
Well, and then they put everything out of fucking place too. Like what was the? Oh God, I always remember this. So, order of events.
Mm-hmm.
She kills the guy that she thinks is Ares.
Yep.
But then the people still keep fighting, and she doesn't understand. Because she just killed War, so theoretically nobody should want to be at war anymore. But they still keep going, and she has this interesting conversation with Chris Pine's character. I can never remember the guy's name. I just know he's Chris Pine. Where he's talking about the nature of humanity. Ares never actually put his influence into human beings to make them fight. All he did was offer a little advice here. Put a little suggestion here, create a new weapon there, and just let the natural course of events for the nature. He doesn't force people to do anything. He manipulates them based off of the nature that they have. Which, as an Amazonian, she should have been clouded from that because she has this idea from her upbringing that so they fuck it up from the foundation. She thinks that war is what makes men evil. And the men, now having lost the drive for war in her killing Ares, will make them better. She doesn't show any pity for people that she believes are being manipulated by a god. She admonishes them for it. And then later on in the movie, she kills War, and men are still men. And so she's lost because she thought she was going to be able to save the planet with this one fucking act. And it turns out Ares, the man that she fell in love with, sacrifices himself to save everybody in this area, and she can't stop it. I'm sorry, were you saying something?
Oh no, it's the dog walk. I was like, hey, bud.
Okay. Gotcha. So he does that, and she's distraught. She's broken because he literally just proved her wrong. That even though there's this issue of this selfishness and wanting to kill in order to not die, or wanting to kill instead of coming to a peaceful resolution to your issues, he did that. He sacrificed himself to save people that he was originally there to fight. And then, to make matters worse, then Ares pops up. So she should have gone right back to the same fucking attitude that she had before. Because it's like, oh, okay, no, I'm still right. The guy that I thought was Ares is dead, but he's not Ares. You're Ares. If I kill you, maybe it'll still happen. So they have the same fucking ending twice. But she's learned her lesson from Chris Pine dying, so she just basically quotes back the same thing that they had talked about throughout the entire movie as the humans of oh, maybe we get what we need, maybe we find where we should be, but maybe we never get what we deserve. Because they even inherently are oh, nobody's deserving of anything good. So we should all just die. It's a very fucking nihilistic message to send. And then after she kills Ares, she doesn't have any, deep suffering resolution that she just had. Because it already happened. It's so fucking out of place.
That's... Yeah, I don't even have anything to add to that. That's... I feel like a lot of this shit doesn't... I think are people just afraid that they're gonna come off as like shade? Like, is that what it is? Like, they're trying so hard to be like special and different, but they just end up becoming way worse off if they would have done with the cleat.
I think
Is
so.
that the issue?
I think so. Because in this frame of reference, it's an interesting idea. Because for She-Hulk, it's like, what happens if you do that? She never loses her memories, but she acts and behaves like a completely different person when she's Hulk. So,
yep. Mm-hmm.
And then when she's Jen, she feels lesser than. So, how do you reconcile that with yourself? And it would have been interesting to have a moment where she gets rejected by the really super hot guy who was like really into her She-Hulk, but rejected Jen because she's too like, negatively female, I guess would be a fucking appropriate way to describe it based off of what I saw on the show. But they didn't do that. They just saw somebody, and I think he's still justifiably correct because he went to bed with She-Hulk after apparently a very fucking successful date. And then the next morning he wakes up completely different person in the house that he doesn't recognize, that he never met. And
they kind of tap danced around that whole thing a little bit too.
Exactly. And he didn't even get the chance to go like, oh, well, I feel a little thrown off because like you were a completely different human being when I saw you the next morning.
Right.
He didn't even get the chance to like get to know Jen. He just like, okay, this is fucking weird, and left, and then never talked to her again until a fucking court case.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of minus the court case shit, but the fact that he just kind of left, I think, is probably a pretty honest reaction.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, if I woke up and the person that I went to bed with suddenly looked completely fucking different, I would be like, well, what the fuck? I think that's supposed to be the way they were. I think if I was to be really negative, maybe the way they were trying to look at it is like a metaphor for when women take their makeup off or something. I could see them making a stupid thing, which is dumb because I'm not dating. I'm not that surface level where like I can't tell like, okay, they're gonna take their makeup off some fucking.
I don't think most people are that surface level for it.
They're not.
It's like,
I don't think most people are, honestly. I think that's a very shallow way. I think it's a shallow insecurity a lot of people have. I don't even say women, just people in general have. Like if a dude takes off his cap, like he's wearing a hat and he comes out that he's bald, there are people that will be like, oh my God, I will never date a bald person. But then it's like, yeah, but I think like 90% of people actually like that. And I think that's the one thing I think, not just Marvel, but a lot of entertainment that follows a lot of this, oh, we need to fucking protect everybody thing. I think they need to realize is that like 90% of the people aren't that fucking stupid. And like most people understand like, yo, we should be nice to or we should be kind to people. We don't have to be complete fucking assholes, but we also understand that there's shitty people out there. And I think that's the most disrespectful thing about a lot of this media is that they tend to think people are so stupid that they can't fucking think for more than 3 seconds.
Well, and then they're also simultaneously pretty stupid because they keep trying to put this person on here. Like we were just talking about at the beginning of this with oh my God. I keep fucking it up. Tatiana.
Yep.
She's beautiful. She's exceedingly beautiful.
Yep.
But they try to act like she's mid.
That she's like, not. I mean, she's not my cup of tea, as the saying goes. Not my particular taste in people, but at the same time, I can objectively speaking say that like a lot of people would find her. Exactly. I could see you finding someone like her attractive. Absolutely. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It throws me off. Taste.
Is because they're trying to do this. It's the fucking ugly duckling thing with like early 2000s teen rom-com kind of shit where it's like, she would be so much prettier if she just took her glasses off, started wearing contacts, and like put some conditioner in her hair, and adds it some mousse to give it some more volume.
7 foot tall and green.
Yep, it's this. I would have liked it if they would have taken it from that standpoint, as that this is her thing, but it's an actual transformation for her. She's not ugly when she's herself, but she's also not like really approachable. That would have been something that would have made sense. But then when she's She-Hulk, she's just so unbelievably stunning and cute, and just that like short king fantasy, basically. That people are like, Jesus Christ, and then she's like ridiculously confident in herself and
Kind of comes
confident in
off as
her
it comes
physicality.
off as it comes off as a bit disjointed. Like, is she supposed to be insecure or is she not? Like, you need to pick one.
Mhm.
And I think that that's part of the problem is the duality issue wasn't with the characters, it was with the writers. They didn't know what to do with the character. I think that one of the issues with a lot of Marvel and stuff like this is because it's popular, everyone wants to, but they don't actually like the characters. I'm assuming, yeah, she probably likes the character She-Hulk a little bit, but I don't think a lot of these people like these particular characters. They just want to write for them because it's.
I think you're touching on something important here because it's the surface level of like, oh, because it's a woman. Like nobody likes Daredevil because it's representation for blind people. No. It's because he's a fucking
awesome,
amazing character, and
he's fucking awesome.
He's so, and this is my favorite one too because the episode I wanted to segue in this because I know you're gonna have some fun shit to say about it. But
I'm sure I will.
I'm
hilarious.
He's so fucking athletically and amazingly agile that people don't believe he's human.
Yep. Even in the comics, it's like that. I know that old trope, but even in the comics, that's why they think he's the fucking devil, aside from just the Hell's Kitchen.
Mm-hmm. But people watching this show were like, I don't know, it seemed kind of cartoony. Like he was a little too, like, he's a fucking superhero. Normal people can't do this shit.
No. And I don't know how in the blue fuck they put Daredevil in the sun, but whatever. Because
I'm trying to remember a comic where I saw him with fucking ketchup and mustard colors too. That threw me off.
Ketchup and mustard colors is fine. That's what he looks like in his. Well, not that way. That looked a little weird. I'm not gonna lie, but like the original costume, he was yellow, so I'll give them props there, yellow and red. But at the same time, like, why? Okay, I get the bit, the funny they had sex joke. Okay. Yeah. His original comic run, he was red and yellow. Yeah, he was bright fucking neon yellow. And then they changed it to red because so his whole thing was he was supposed to look like the devil. There's another demon from DC. His name is Etrigan, who's yellow and red. I don't think that's who because I think Etrigan came out after Daredevil did, but if you look at old, I don't know if this is why they made Daredevil yellow. Just postulating a theory. Old interpretations of demons would be like yellow because what's another variation of red? It's yellow, white, and red. So if you think hell, like it could be to just be kind of vile looking, and I would imagine he made himself to a devil or a demon. But yeah, yellow and red was his original colors, not the way they portray it in She-Hulk. But yeah, anyway, I digress. My
idea behind it because at the very least, it's like. This dude's extraordinarily Catholic.
Yep. Oh, then he is. That's one of Daredevil's whole big things, but they're not going to ever touch on that. Yeah, ironically, they're even going to make the show Born Again season, which we'll definitely cover that when that comes out. But, just spoiler alert, I'm actually a pretty big fan of Daredevil. I have a lot of the collected trades of, the different comic runs, the Frank Miller runs, all that shit. So I'm fairly versed in Daredevil logic, and I'm not going to sit here and go because we'll be here all fucking night.
I'm a fan of his sarcasm.
Oh, I am too. Now, okay, here's the thing. I think Charlie Cox is pretty much the definitive Daredevil as of right now. I think he's great, fantastic. Even in She-Hulk, I thought he was fine. My issue, and even the sex joke where he slept with She-Hulk or whatever. All right. Why did they make Daredevil do the walk of shame? Not even the walk of shame thing. Okay, you're gonna have him do the joke. That's fine. That's Marvel. He was gonna get neutered. I expected that going in. Well, but why do it in the daytime?
It's a bit of an echo of the. Yeah, no, that part was fucking retarded.
That to me was the one thing that it kills kills a lot of the momentum for. They could have still done the walk of shame thing, but do it at like 3:00 in the morning. Because why would the asshole around in L.A. as a Daredevil, because clearly they're establishing that Daredevil's always been there. He's
also,
walking
that's
around.
Not his fucking character. He should have been leaving in the middle of the night and like taking a good look back at her, and then realize like she's gonna be a little upset that I'm leaving right now. But he's leaving in the middle of the night because he can still hear people being shot, stabbed, robbed, murdered, and SA'd from across the fucking other side of the city. So he can't. Isn't that the whole point of him sleeping in a fucking sensory deprivation tank? Because if he doesn't, he won't sleep because he hears the suffering of people everywhere.
Yep. And let's not even. I'm even looking past the fact that She-Hulk was able to take his mask off in 2 seconds. That was fucking stupid.
Part of me can believe it just because of the fact that she's super fucking strong, but I don't believe it would ever come off without his head coming with it.
Right. She's super strong, but yet the tailor, who's basically the Edna Mode, I don't have a problem with that guy, to be honest with you. Of course, that's going to be something like that in the MCU. Well, the only reason I'm saying I don't have as much of a is I came to terms with the fact that it was stupid like that a long time ago. So I just accepted it for what it was like. Okay, they're going to do the Edna Mode thing or whatever. But it's the fact that this guy's supposed to be so smart with his costumes. He didn't think of a goddamn failsafe to protect him in case the superhero who he's making costume identity was seen. Like there wasn't like a self-destruct button or electrocution or anything.
Or just a small you remember the joke about the smug look?
Yeah. Like
that would have been perfect. Like take off his mask, there's a smaller devil mask underneath. That would have been
like what?
Fucking hilarious.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh no, that was the whole thing. It's just like rip off his mask. It was like, well, she wiped that smug look off my face, but fortunately for me, I was wearing a smaller smug look underneath it.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like there was nothing. Like there was no attempt to hide the face. Just she took his mask off. All right, well that's funny. So, okay. I think that scene could have been handled a bit better. Being honest with you there. Like that scene could have been handled a bit better. Like even if a practical effect where they just had a little spark showing that like, oh, it would have tried to, but I guess in the new Daredevil show, that's his mask's going to come off again or something, assuming. But
I can't even believe any failsafe that they would come up with would even hurt her.
Well, that's not my point. My point, because it wouldn't. It absolutely wouldn't. My point is like the guy who's supposed to be the most intelligent costume maker on the planet, who can literally a suit that will expand and sets of clothing that will expand for She-Hulk, didn't create a failsafe to protect the superhero's identity, which is his client.
He barely made clothes that could expand to fit her.
Right. Well, my argument though is that he would at least, because he wouldn't think that, okay, Matt Murdock's going to go up against She-Hulk. He's probably thinking, okay, he's going to go up against street level thugs. Well, what's the first, Batman, Dark Knight did this. Yeah. When the motherfuckers ran up to try to take his mask off, they immediately got zapped because he had a failsafe in his cowl to zap them. You mean to tell me this guy has the ability suits that will protect, that do all this crazy crap, but does not at least have an electrical failsafe that was in the Dark Knight in 2008? Like he didn't think to do that. All they could have done, all they needed to do was as she's taking off, a little bit of a spark would have came out. She could have went, oh, you're trying to protect your identity. That's not going to work on me.
And I even like the idea that it's stolen Stark tech or something. Just keep that fucking ball rolling if you want.
Yeah.
Like, oh, how did they all do this? Like, well, Tony Stark was making a lot of shit, dude. He made sure a lot of really smart people could do this stuff. Some of them are not going to be in great situations. So,
and that's all they needed to do. But right there, it fails on so many fronts because one, it makes the costume designer look stupid because it's like, okay, so you think ahead to, protect their identity just in case he got knocked out, that someone would take his mask off. Okay, so they didn't think of that. Two, so anybody could literally just walk up and take Daredevil's mask at any point in time, and there's no repercussions for that.
I even hated the way they handled the whole fucking court case surrounding that with the dumbass frog guy.
Oh, the frog guy.
Like she seriously goes into the dude's office and he's like, "Oh, hey, it's good to see you. Hi,
that was stupid. It makes
suing you." Like, what the fuck? Oh, just give me money and we won't sue you. It's like, now you're fucking extorting him? You're a terrible lawyer.
Yep. Like,
Jesus
it was like,
Christ.
dude, no wonder Matt Murdock fucking buried you in court. Like,
he didn't even do that good.
He didn't even, and that's a testament to how not that great of a lawyer she is.
Yeah, because like
He
you're not
didn't
allowed
he
to.
didn't even bury her that well, and he still buried her.
I have a fucking surface level understanding of like courtroom procedure, and I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to like interrogate your opposing what the fucking word am I looking for here?
Witness?
The you're not the prosecution.
Prosecution?
Yeah, you're not allowed
Nope.
to interrogate their fucking client just like in the middle of they hadn't even. I get it. Courtroom proceedings like this are fucking long and boring and drawn out.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like show up for one day just to like see if there's even a quick resolution that could be proposed.
Mm-hmm.
Do the formal like this is our counter offer, this is what's happening here, deny. Okay, court date set for this time, prepare your defenses, you have 2 weeks or whatever. They didn't even do that shit. They just showed up. She didn't even fucking ask the guy, hey, were you using this equipment appropriately? Because if you do anything outside of the like, and then the other guy could have been in a bad position because if he was releasing these things without giving these people an actual like tutorial on how they're supposed to run and how they're supposed to be operated and used, he could get in a lot of fucking trouble for this. So but he did.
So I will even leave out the fact that, you know, I was planning on going to law school and becoming a lawyer. I'll leave that out. And I won't even go into black letter law and what actual court proceedings are. I will literally just point people to the movie My Cousin Vinny. The fact that all they needed to do to make a courtroom, because all the courtroom scenes suck in She-Hulk, all of them do. They're not good. All they needed to do was watch fucking My goddamn movie. Marissa Tomei and Joe Pesci. Love them.
And even then too, they could have done that and then watched The Social Network, which I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't like that movie either, but that's mostly because I don't like Jesse Eisenberg. But
that's a fair criticism.
They did that whole thing too.
He's all right.
But like even like and they ripped a lot of the stuff from the whole from the actual courtroom proceedings and shit too, because you're going through this whole thing and you have the guy who's like being overcoached to the point where he's pretending like he doesn't fucking understand what photocopies are.
I think I think you actually hit the nail on the head of an issue. They're trying to be funny by making everybody fucking stupid. The problem is if you make everybody fucking stupid, then how am I supposed to take them serious when a serious moment's supposed to happen? You know, ironically, who did this well? Okay, I'm gonna have a spoiler, right? It's for Black Adam. Now, in Black Adam, which by the way, y'all should go see. It's a good movie. I do have a slight gripe with it, but I'll wait till get it because I don't want to spoil it for Rec until he watches the movie. Because he knows that Black Adam is legit one of my favorite comic characters. So
we were fucking worried about it, and the only thing that was really making us going like, well, actually, maybe this might be good because all of the reviews for it were shit.
Yep. Well, and the reason you'll see why when you watch it, why most of the mainstream media fucking don't like it. You'll understand why fairly close to the end.
Even some of the dumbass Zoomers that I saw like on TikTok getting interviewed with it were like, "Yo, did you see Black Adam?" They're like, "Yep, certainly did." What'd you think about it? What the fuck do you mean? That's not a review. What happened? And I'm like, now I have to go see it. Why did your dumbass hate it?
It's not the best movie by any stretch of the imagination. And I will even argue the main criticism that well, okay, before I get to that, let me make my there's a bit towards the endish of the movie, maybe like the towards half. Okay, it's actually like in the middle between it's like the 3/4 of the way through the movie. There's a bit where Black Adam has to figure out where someone had been abducted, right? So they need to interrogate this one. And he's kind of working with the JSA at this point, but he's kind of not at the same time. This is right before they start working together. And he catches this guy, and he's pissed off because the person that they're looking for was not in this little motorbike. So he grabs him, and he just fucking to like the other side of like this city. And Dr. Fate shows up, and he's like, was the person there? And he's like, he wasn't. Okay, bring the person back, and I will break his mind. We'll find out exactly where. And then Black Adam just gets quiet. And he's like, you killed him, didn't you? And then Black Adam turns and looks, and you see the guy, it's so funny. You see the guy slowly, not even like fast, slowly fall for maybe about 10 seconds. And you see him fucking land on the other side of a mountain and then just stop screaming. And then Black Adam turns to Dark Fate and goes, he didn't make it. And it's like, that was legitimately funny. and not
Also
because
in
Black
character.
Adam's stupid. Yeah, it's so in character. He's not stupid. He was so filled with rage that he just decided, fuck this guy. And he theoretically probably could have flown to the other side of the mountain to get him, but he was so pissed off and was like, you know what? No. And then most likely as the guy hit the ground and his skull cracked in, he probably realized, yeah, I should have just brought him back. And then he turns and goes, he didn't make it. It's in character. It's
there
perfect.
needs to be some things like that, some actual like. It's like we were
I
talking
think
about
that
earlier
the
about
movie's
things
gonna have a
being out
bunch
of
of
order,
memes,
right?
Because I think the movie's gonna be a meme machine when it comes out, like on DVD and shit.
That's how you know it was actually masterfully done. Because all all of the this is completely subjective. All of the good She-Hulk memes that I saw are the ones that I put in the slideshow. Both times.
And those are pretty great too, by the way.
Yeah.
Y'all are looking at them right now. They're fantastic. But
so go ahead.
All right, now I'll get to my one criticism real quick just to get out of the way. Well, okay, it's partially two, but it's mostly one. They'll probably never do Shazam versus Black Adam now, for obvious reasons. If y'all know what spoilers, what the after credit scene is, they're most likely not going to do Shazam versus Black Adam.
See, this shit annoys me.
It does, because I really wanted to see them fight, because I like the idea of Shazam just being powerful enough. And when Black Adam finds out that Shazam's just a child, it pisses him off. Also, because it pisses him off, but it also, when you watch the movie, you would understand how it could be like a come to Jesus kind of moment where Black Adam has more respect for him too. And there's a reason why. There's also a really epic moment where it's off in the shadows, but you see Black Adam's original outfit with one character, but I won't spoil that. My big gripe though is I feel like they made him too good in this.
Yep, that's part of the problem with all this kind of shit.
And
there's no balance.
But my main issue then becomes, okay, they want to build him up. I'm okay with him being a guy, but they from the outset have said they wanted to create a Thanos level villain.
Dumb motherfuckers.
Yeah, and they don't need to do that. And with Black Adam, they have a chance to do that. The problem, though, is in order to do that now, they would literally need to kill off the cast of this movie. And they're not going to do that. That's the only... Because he is now... it's to the point where he's had his character arc where he goes from almost a villain to a good guy. Now he's just a good guy, in my opinion. They made him too good. God. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. My issue is that, and I said this to XGP the other day, is I loved Black Adam. I'll just say that I loved it. I fucking thought it was a great movie. The thing is, as a fan of the character from the comic, this feels like this should have been the sequel, like the sequel movie, the lesson that he learned.
Oh, kind of like what was happening with the shit. I always forget his name. The guy that played Spike in Buffy.
Yep.
Or it's just like, oh, I have to be the bad guy this time, but then next time I get to come back and I get to, fight on the same team and stuff. That should have been what would happen for that. Because Black Adam needs to learn a lesson to actually be human and a fucking great god, essentially.
Yep. And I think the easiest way they could have fixed that is if he was just the villain in Shazam 1. Yeah. Honestly, they should have just... or 2, and just have 2 come out earlier. He should have just... No, honestly, I still feel like he should, because then it would have justified bringing in the Shazam, especially with the plot. Again, I'm fantasy book, especially with the plot points of the and maybe they're doing that when they do this whole and everything. But because that's what they're leading to. But it's the same thing with Secret Wars. That's how they're going to justify bringing. But anyway, they could have had that where Black Adam fought Shazam and the Shazam kids and all that stuff, the Shazam family. That would have been perfect. And then finding out that they're kids, I think would have led perfectly into into Black Adam's solo movie. So then it's like, okay, he was already a villain, an asshole. And then in part 2, when he meets the JSA, that's when he learns to become whole again. It feels like there's a movie missing for Black. Even though they do his origin and everything. That's my only criticism with the movie. Other than that, I loved it.
Well, that's my general criticism with this stuff in the first place, is that you're pulling from too many sources. There, like Venom. There's a storyline where Venom's a good guy. There's a storyline where Venom eventually moves himself up into being a good guy. But then there's also a storyline where he's like an absolute dog shit, like wanting to eat everybody he can see type of like megalomaniac monster. There's a lot of different sides to this kind of stuff. And I think the part that people tend to forget in this is that some of these things are situational, and some of these things, like there's a storyline, the one that we referenced earlier with Daredevil sarcasm. I believe it was during Civil War or something to that effect.
He's a very sarcastic character in general.
Exactly, it's one of my favorite like little panels that I've seen. I don't even remember who was like chasing him, but I want to say it was Captain America. No, that's not right, because he was
What
my God,
era of comics are you talking?
I'm getting myself crossed over for this. Somebody's chasing him. He's doing his flip off the side of the building and stuff, and launching his grappling commas.
Is it a hero that's chasing him?
Yeah, just like, you're under arrest, and he just goes, I eject. It's fucking. I don't know why it's so fucking funny to me. I'll see if I can find the meme.
Find it, and if not, I'll keep it in the back of my mind. Because like I said, I'm going through and reading a whole bunch of Marvel shit right now anyway, so if I come across it, I'll throw it your way.
I want to say this is during post New 52 kind of thing, because again, like a hero's chasing him, going like, you're under arrest, dude, and then he just as he's swinging away.
I know New 50, you're talking like Marvel, like the Marvel's version too, right?
Yeah, let me see what I'm gonna double check what this one's from here. So.
Okay. I know the New 50. I know there's gonna be some. I'm not correcting you, but I know there's gonna be some out. 52's D. This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. It's like, no, he knows. He's talking about the fucking era.
Yeah. That's basically that. Wait, is that not a thing that people say, that the New 52 era of comics?
No, they don't.
As far as I know, they side of it then.
It just depends. Because
they had another bullshit thing happening at the same time, didn't they?
Well, so there were two different times that this happened. The Ultimate version, so Ultimate Marvel is like that, but it's a Ultimates where it's like they basically rebooted the entire Marvel without rebooting the Marvel universe. So they still had the regular Marvel, then they had the Ultimate lines going on. That's where that they're originally from the Ultimates timeline.
Okay.
And then more recently there was Marvel Now again. DC is funny because DC does this thing where like every couple of they read their fucking continuity. So there was the New 52 back in 2009, 2010. That's when around the time you. And then more recently there was Rebirth. Rebirth was in 2015, 2016, something like that. I can't remember.
You're right. I appreciate you catching that though, because that is one of those things where somebody be like, "Well, everything you said in this is bullshit because you ruined your credibility."
Oh
there.
yeah.
So
they would say that. No worries, man. I knew that. I knew what you meant. I absolutely knew what you meant, but I knew there'd be some fucking ass. There's always one.
Yeah.
I still get people to this day that will say from my Satan video where it's like, "Oh, so you're saying Buddhism's not a real religion?" I said Buddhism was not a real religion. You.
It's like, I mean, that's one of my favorite ones too. I love that. I love that whole thing. It's like it's that surface level shit again, where it's like, oh, your surface level understanding of what's being said and what's being talked about here. You don't fucking care about anything that doesn't immediately placate to your preconceived notion of the thing. So it's like, that's not what's happening in this scenario here. The issue is that it is still a religion, even though they don't have a patron, but they still have a patron, so they're doing a have a cake and eat it too kind of a thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into what you were trying to say, but fuck.
In my video, all I'll say is this, right? Was it was a bitching competition between old school Satanists. Again, I'll get someone a little bit pissed because there's many variations of Satanism. My whole argument that I was saying on there wasn't the fact that a religion cannot have a god. My understanding was, I'm like, okay, well, shouldn't a religion contain a god? I literally Googled because I didn't fucking know. So I Googled the definition. Does a religion have a god? And the Google definition popped up and said it usually. That's what the point I was making, right? Because the argument was that both the Satanic Church and the Temple of Satan did not believe in an actual Satan. So I was like, well, then what's the point then? Because like, shouldn't there be like a deity that you're following like that? Don't you believe in a deity? I'm not saying you actually physically believe that there, but like you believe of a deity that teaches you certain. So like that was my whole argument. It wasn't even the fact that like he does or does not need one.
Well, and then people act like Buddhism's like a good middle ground between being uber religious and being atheist. It's like it's not.
They believe they believe in the Buddha, who is a real person, who is a deity. To them, he is a god.
And well, he's Buddhism, ascended to that realm after he died.
Right.
That's the whole point of the reincarnation thing.
Right. So, and again, I don't mind if that's not the case or whatever, but as far as I'm aware, it does contain fucking supernatural elements, doesn't it? And you know what's ironic is nobody has even brought it once. And I'll give them this freebie, right? Because I even know where they could have done the, because they're just doing the, I gotcha moment. That's all they're doing. That's all they give a shit about. They don't actually care about, they just want to get the gotcha moments. Then why haven't many motherfuckers brought up dudeism? From the movie, The Big Lebowski, there's an actual religion called dudeism where people follow. I mean, it's probably dumb. Like they
wear the robes. I'm not saying
it's
they have the
let me
rephrase
what I said.
It together. I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And you know what? If that makes their life happy, fuck yeah, that's awesome. I don't think it's necessarily dumb. I just want to rephrase that. I think it's dumb that people
I think it's dumb. I'll say that.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I think it's dumb that people will get this fucking hot and heavy over religion. But again, read the X-Men comics, people, because it actually discusses a lot of turmoil between people of different religious viewpoints. But anyway,
yeah, and I think that's something that they could highlight in the MCU, but they're trying to be like fun, like entertainment. So you got to leave that kind of shit out of it. Yeah, but they also ruined that in the first Avengers movie when it's like, remember, these are like actual gods from mythology. There's only one god, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that. Like, you've ruined your fucking getting this away from that uncomfortable question immediately. Good job, Kevin, you dumb motherfucker. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, was that Favreau?
That was Favreau. No, it wasn't. It was Whedon.
Whedon. That's right, yeah.
That's why I don't want them to bring the X-Men in. Okay, so we're circling all the way. That's why I don't want them to bring the X-Men in, because they won't do it right. And I think they'll do certain characters right. I think they'll do Jubilee great, especially if they're going to go with the more modern incarnation of like a mutant and a vampire. That would be fucking awesome. I do too. I think she's a great character.
Also, I don't agree that her powers are dumb.
No,
her powers are fucking colorful explosions. You're gonna tell me that's not? Gambit has the same fucking power, basically.
She does,
or at least he uses it the same way.
Then there'll be someone that'll go, "Oh no, it's concussion based." Okay, shut the fuck. They throw magical bullshit at. It's the same argument I have with why I've stood up for Dazzler for all these years. I'm like one of the few motherfuckers who won't stand up for Dazzler, because Dazzler's literally Jubilee but different, like slightly different. But everyone talks shit on Dazzler because Dazzler looked like Sailor Uranus. Well, the old incarnation of Dazzler looked like Sailor Uranus before they changed her into like a 70s pop star.
That's
disco star, I should say. Yeah, I love Dazzler, but Dazzler and Jubilee are very similar. And I've always gone to bat for Dazzler and Jubilee. But ironic, which I'm happy people like Jubilee. Jubilee will probably, if they bring mutants in this timeline, the way they're going to, okay, spoiler alert to everyone, this is how they're going to bring the mutants. They're going to have most of the newer mutants, or no, sorry, not new mutants. They're going to have the mutants that don't need to be from a specific era form in the MCU timeline. So like Jubilee, maybe Nightcrawler, Colossus, and shit like that, right? Because they're not necessarily timeline specific. People like your Magnetos and shit like that are come from an alternate dimension because they still need to have that World War II aspect into their character. If they keep that, I don't think they're going to, though. This is why I don't want them to bring the X-Men.
Well, this is why the whole like universal continuity thing is a fucking stupid idea.
It is.
You're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, especially now. You mean to tell me that there's this guy who was around during the Holocaust that is like 90 to 100 years old now?
Well, no, with the mutants I can buy that because he does. They retconned him a bit so that they all age a little slower, or at least him and Xavier do.
Well, yeah, and there's a new comic line right now where every mutant's basically immortal. Like, there's this whole bullshit now where if they die, they just go to this other realm and then there's like it's not that good. But like I don't think it's that great of an idea. But like anyway, so that's what they're gonna do. If they bring Jubilee in, I'd be fine with that, just because I could kind of see her working with Miss Marvel. They just need to get her away from the entire cast of the Miss Marvel TV show.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I'm saying this. Like, I'm going to bat for fucking Kamala Khan people, but the actress I think was fantastic. I think that they should expand on her more, but literally leave everything about the behind her character's bullshit behind.
Mm-hmm.
Except maybe her brother. Her brother was pretty fun. And her sidekick. Her sidekick was fine too. But pair her up with like Jubilee or something. Oh, also spoiler to everyone out there, she's not going to be a mutant. They're doing that to just Marvel bait you. That's all they're doing. She's going to be an Inhuman.
You know what? It would have been a good one too, just because I like that. Like this is the only like positive criticism that I have for Marvel through She-Hulk specifically.
Okay.
You remember how they had like it's a fucking dog shit joke, but very much like local celebrities kind of a thing. You had Matt Murdock go like, "I'm Daredevil." Like, you haven't heard my music? It's been on the radio. Like, shut the fuck up. Don't do it that way. But at the same time, you're kind of opening the door a good way. How it is tangibly possible with all these world extinction level events happening that somebody might not have heard about the fact that there's mutants. Or that there's even a difference between mutants and Thor or anything else. That maybe, my brother just randomly turned into a lizard man. Maybe this is like some kind of fucking alien virus. But no, he's just a mutant. And I would like the idea that they just kind of added in there like, it seems like this is a weird response. There's something inherent about humans that we did not have to do this. But something about the exposure to these new groups of people in outer space, these gods from other worlds, these crazy forces that we didn't even know were possible. It seems like humans are adapting to respond, which is a stupid surface level way to play it out, but it fits in line with the whole fact that the mutants, air quote, mutating to the next stage of human evolution, which is not how that works, but it works for the context of what we're talking about here, that people can just randomly become powerful because they are it's reacting to this extreme event from encountering these aliens and everything like that. I can buy that to an extent.
You know what? I think that you're probably right. I think what they're going to do is they're going to show off. I just can't see them bringing in like a Charles Xavier. That's the only issue I have without people, or by now bringing them up. Like, you mean to tell me Thanos went around and fucked up half the... I could believe that, like, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, even, like...
I could even believe it's something along the lines of, like, all the other heroes know Daredevil, but nobody outside of Queens knows Daredevil.
Yeah, and that's fine. I could even believe that Wolverine exists in this timeline. Because his whole bit is not wanting to be fucking... Because he doesn't even know who he is.
Well, two bits. There's that, and then the other bit where he contains the collective rage of all Canadians, past and present.
Yeah, true. Very true. And into the future. But my only issue then becomes, okay, they need to somehow justify why Charles Xavier... And did they just all get blipped out? Did Charles Xavier and Magneto blipped out? Is that why they didn't show up to help lead humanity after all this crap happened? I know with She-Hulk, they're kind of hinting at the idea that the mutants have always been there, and that's fine. But they're going to have to keep explaining why these highly intellectual people did not show up. And I think it's going to probably come down to how they introduce the Fantastic Four, because that they do kind of need to explain where the hell.
Even just the idea that, like, there's these... They're kind of already doing it in She-Hulk because Titania and Mr. Immortal and like it's just like there's enough mutants and enough like super powered people. Maybe they don't even understand like what a mutant is yet by comparison. Like, it's still in there. I like this as an idea, because imagine this. You've never heard of vampires before. There's no mythology in it. There's no movies. None of that shit exists. And all of a sudden, you come across a creature that has fangs and red eyes and it drinks human blood. Probably going to be a freaking weird situation before you name it as a vampire.
No, you know what? That's fair. And you know what? In fairness to your point, there are people. Okay, I can actually add to your point because there are people on the planet that won't know who fucking Mario is or Mickey Mouse is. They are literally so synonymous with culture, human culture, not just like westernized culture, but human culture, that almost everybody on the planet would see them and know exactly what you're talking about, or even just naming them. They're like, oh, do you mean Mickey Mouse or Mario? They're not going to say like Mickey Mantle.
I could even buy the same thing happening with like, wait, I thought Hulk was a dude. Like, no, it's my cousin.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like she's basically any of Mark Wahlberg's brothers.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I could see some people
didn't know you existed.
Yeah, so I could see some people not knowing about some, but I think that would ultimately be a bit of a cop out too, because again, Professor Xavier is considered one of the most intelligent minds on the planet. Reed Richards, again, same thing. The only way I feel like, to justifiably say they've been time is that every single one of these highly intelligent level got blown. That's the only way they can prove it without it being stupid. But the problem is, I think they're going to botch it because I think they know that that's the only way, aside from just saying they come from a different universe.
Oh my God.
I think they know that, and they're going to try so hard to, quote unquote, to defy our expectations. And
I just
the thing is,
another way they could do it. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. But the thing, okay, I'll finish up my thing.
No, go for it.
The thing is, they're going to try to pole vault and come up with this crazy explanation and overdo it to surprise everybody, and it's going to come crap. They're going to botch it. They're going to fumble. And it's probably going to kill any momentum the X-Men got going. I mean, it's the X-Men. They're always going to have. Well, the other thing too is they're not going to call. I'll be genuinely surprised if they call. I'll just say that.
I would be
because
too.
they mentioned a while ago saying that the name X-Men was problematic,
which is retarded because they're called X-Men because G-Men. Like they explain that in the X-Men movies.
Well,
Jesus Christ.
Well, but they're not they're going to call it the mutants because that's the PC way to say it, even though no one wants it called that. But that's
like the assumption behind it is stupid. Like, are people really this ignorant of the etymology of the word now? Like,
yes. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They're so stupid that they don't know that, again, that also partially plays into the themes of religion versus science in the X-Men. But whatever.
Well, even then, too, just plain and simple, like, human, man, those were the same fucking word, basically. And then somehow the word got wait, what's the proper way to say this? Androcentric? Androcentric? Something like that?
Something like, I know what you're trying to get at, I just don't know what the word is.
Because like the word woman, woman was essentially something that did it was a fucking additive to that thing, so that was a more gynocentric version of the same word. I cannot remember how to pronounce the male version of gynocentric and like androgynous versus gynogynous or something like that. Like, it's funny that there's these two things, and people androgynous is a funny one for me because it's supposed to mean like oh, androgynous means somebody that doesn't really have like a definitive gender expression type of situation, but it's funny because the word literally means like, oh, you don't really look like a man. It's fucking weird. But anyway, it completely lost my train of thought. Oh, right, I got it. Okay, so the word,
you're lucky, She-Hulk,
just means human. And you had different fucking words like were and weef for the two genders, man and woman, and then from there you had the words just kind of evolved and like gained weird synonymousness with each other. I think that's the right way to say that. And people forgot the original meaning to the thing, and it just kind of kept fucking going in this weird cycle. So now people don't understand that words essentially don't mean now what they used to mean. So X-Men just meant the like fucking soldiers of Charles Xavier, which is a terrible line of imagery for it, but that's essentially what was there, is that these are going to be the warriors that fight for equality.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that was the whole thing.
I was going to say, especially when you look at the what's it called?
Oh, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Oh, there was a person that was telling me to look at video wise.
Mm-hmm.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, especially with the whole, World War II imagery and whatnot that's in the X-Men, but the soldiers of Charles Xavier's like,
It's not a really great way to frame that versus the Brotherhood of Mutants, the freedom. Yeah, like
mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah,
it's fucking hilarious to me the way, like, just the misunderstanding of these things and people reading a little bit too much into one side versus the other side. Every day more and more I become that fucking meme of the lynch. Have you seen this one with the warrior? Like, well, then just fucking kill me.
Then just fucking kill me.
Hold on a second. Half thou lain with the fair sex? Well, yeah, there was this nice lady at a tavern. Well, then you're not pure of heart, are you, dumbass? Like, my heart is pure. It's pure justice. It's like, that's not what that fucking meant. I feel like that's the issue that we're running into. It's like, oh, only like, god damn it, like that whole thing, like, oh, pure of heart, just a virgin hero, or the inverse of that too, because
hey,
like,
don't diss me that bad. No, I'm just kidding.
You're a virgin?
I am.
Since when?
No. Yeah, right.
How did you unfuck that maiden?
How many maidens do I wish I would have
Honestly, I think that's a pretty common sentiment, right?
It might be a higher number than the other one.
But
you're right, though. How many other people could say that? But
well, like, and then again, it just kind of goes into that misunderstanding of the words too, because the poem about the werewolf curse, even a man who is pure of heart and says his prayers at night, that pure of heart in that context means what we think it means now, free of sin, not virgin. So, like, even the holiest of holy men will still succumb to the curse of the werewolf. Like that.
Maybe the problem is people take things too literally now.
Yeah. Or they just don't bother to look into the
issue.
origin of it.
Yeah. Well, even just having, again, like we talked about, basic surface level understanding of, they don't question a damn thing.
Well, shit, I've even seen some people who say Black Adam should be a black man, and it's like, dude, that's not why they call him Black Adam.
Wait a minute, there's actually fucking people that say that?
Oh yeah, it's on TikTok. It's hilarious.
Are they being like,
how are you gonna have a hero named Black Adam if you're not gonna be black? And then they like everybody in the comments are like, did you even Google the comic before you said that shit?
It's fucking morons. Fuck the fact that he's Egyptian, and he was not technically Egyptian, but based off like Egyptian mythologies and shit. But
well, even then, I'll even forgive the idea too, because Egyptian people don't even look like what people think Egyptian people look like. That'll always be hilarious to me.
Yep. Yeah. Again, it's the same thing with people from the Middle East. They think, ironically enough, you know what the funniest shit is that I've found? Most people that have never been to, they always assume that everybody in the Middle East looks the same fucking way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's hilarious. And I'm not even going to say, anybody that knows me knows why I know, and I won't even get into that.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that most people, and you can always tell, these people are the ones that have never left the country, have never challenged a thought process for fucking anything.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically enough, they're usually the most racist fucking people out there, but they're the ones who virtue signal to try to not be racist.
Oh, that's the exact same people,
right? They're the exact same people that think that every single country in the Middle East is the same fucking.
Well, there's like cultural differences between even just cities, which will always throw me off too. Like, how can and I think this is the problem. This is one of the problems with the writing in She-Hulk and stuff, is that they're acting like this is a universal experience for women, but it's not. This is basically like, are you a California socialite, career woman? Then this is you, but that's not the reality of the situation for the majority of all people. So,
well, it's funny. We didn't even get into like the catcalling stuff and all that crap for She-Hulk. So She-Hulk got spared. I do have to go here in a minute. But
yeah, we'll do the closing thoughts because we're at the 2.5 hour mark too. So
yeah, I just noticed that. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good. This might need a part 2. Fuck.
Honestly, anyway. I'm down. You know what? We do need to see if we can get Themgrier on this too, because I know he would probably, because Themgrier is a little bit. What's the best way to say this without sounding like a fucking dick? Like, he's a little bit more forgiving on a lot of, and that's not a detriment to him.
I'll give him credit where credit's due, because the attitude that I've always gotten from him in this is that if he enjoys it, he likes it. It doesn't have to. And I respect this about him. I respect this about my dad and like most of the people that I know. I want better writing from something that cost $1 billion fucking dollars. That's my general go-to for this thing. They just wanted to enjoy what was in front of them. So I can respect that, but don't pretend like it was fucking good. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, it wasn't. She-Hulk was not. But anyway,
it's like Nickelback now with people. It's like Nickelback was never fucking good. You just think Nickelback's good now because the shit that's coming out now is worse than Nickelback.
Wait, is there like a movement? Because I always kind of liked Nickelback.
No, there's absolutely jump on that bandwagon. If you like Nickelback, I don't have any problem with you liking Nickelback. I still, to this day, have the songs from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man memorized.
Oh, Hero, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I do like Nickelback, but it was funny because I remember always being of the camp that was like one of the like 3 people that liked Nickelback. Nickelback. I'm just surprised that there's a movement. People, fuck this podcast. I'm gonna go talk to them.
No, that's fair. Absolutely.
Oh man,
and the worst part is you'd see this if you were on TikTok. That I'm sorry.
You know what's funny? No, it's okay.
You don't have to.
You know what's funny? I have you're the only person. Lady C doesn't either. But you know, there's some people that watch my channel. I guess one special, obviously, but like they've said, like you should get on TikTok. I know I probably would like it. I probably would like it. I probably would enjoy my but I'm so fucking old that I stick to YouTube shorts.
No. It's misery loves company. YouTube shorts are better.
There you go. Fair enough.
I'm going to say this. This is going to be the most controversial, because this sounds like I'm holding a cigarette and telling you not to smoke. So TikTok is addictive, and TikTok is kind of amazing, and TikTok is also shit as fuck, because you don't really get to control what you see. It just kind of generally learns the things that it thinks you like, and then will show you more of that thing. So like my algorithm teeter-totters between goth chicks and political arguments, religious arguments, back to like metalworking, and then circling back around. All of the things that I'm kind of interested in one form or another will cycle through. And until I like start getting away from that stuff, it puts me in these weird little pockets that I don't necessarily like. Like eventually listening to this one person will lead me down this like rabbit hole, and eventually I'll just see nothing but like just Twitch thoughts all the time. And I'm like, I don't fucking like this shit. Why does it think this is the same? Anyway, the overarching point that I'm trying to make here is that you do not need to get on TikTok. And I think one of the problems with it is that everybody that you know that has it will tell you need to get on TikTok, but then everybody on TikTok will tell you you're too fucking old to be on TikTok. This is an app for 15-year-olds and under. And it's like, is it really?
And you know what I will go off with saying? She-Hulk was a solid. I'm just kidding. I'd say
it's a solid shit.
Man, if I was to give it like a number,
if feminism was protein, that's what I need to tell you how this show's consistency of shit is.
If my choice was to become a vegan or recommend She-Hulk, I would probably just recommend She-Hulk, but I'd probably give it like a 4 out of 10. Like there's not a whole lot there to like, but it's somewhat competently shot at points. If I was to sound like a fucking film snob. Again, I don't hate the cast, given what that they had to work with. And you know what? I don't even hate Jessica. I know I'm putting all the blame on Jessica Gao. I know there was more, but she's at the forefront of the show.
Yeah.
I think I'm just more disappointed because I know she could do better. I have this feeling that deep down inside, she's a much better writer than this. And if she wanted to write a Marvel show, but she didn't want to write She-Hulk, I think she should have just passed on. But maybe for all I know, maybe she was a huge fan of the character.
Mm-hmm. I don't think she was. If the interviews say anything, she wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But if I'm giving her the benefit, if she was, this was like a lifelong dream, then you should have really rethought your strategy. Mm-hmm. But man, I just really hope they don't get a season 2. Oh,
I do too.
Maybe a small part of me does, because then we can just talk about it for another 2.5 hours about why it sucks. But
so then I'll give my closing thoughts on it then once you.
Last thing I'll say is they really had a fourth wall breaking moment where they went to Marvel Studios and have Deadpool sitting in line waiting to. I feel like the joke was gift wrapped right there, but
that would have been great.
Yeah.
That would have been fucking fantastic. But I don't think they would have done that because you can't put a better character in your show. Otherwise, who's going to watch this one? They're just going to be reminded of all the better shit that could have existed, right?
Well, my only rebuttal to that is Daredevil, but
right, he stole the show.
What they did to him,
and he was fucking.
He did
the whole thing without his balls. So.
Oh, I can't really disagree with you there, unfortunately. But anyway, that's all I got.
All right. Well, I'll close this off with saying it was nothing like what it should have been. And I feel like if nothing else, if they weren't so fucking proud of themselves for mediocrity, they should at least feel ashamed of doing so poorly with what they produced. I'm not going to be nice about this at all. There's nothing about this show that was even remotely enough for me to say it's so bad it's good. Congratulations, Hollywood. You've produced something worse than The Room. Yeah, because at least The Room, there's points in it where you can at least enjoy it a little bit. This... Because, okay, the biggest thing is even the few episode bits that I liked, it's all discredited because of the way they ended the show. With them breaking the fourth wall thing and saying, oh, we know this whole shit. If you knew this whole thing was shit, why did you waste my showing it? Yep. But then there's the people that will say, you didn't have to watch it. Well, I still did, and this is what they gave me. And I put that meme in there too. Why are you watching it if you don't like it? Because I want to hate it properly. Because you're going to say if I didn't watch it, then I don't have any right to criticize it. I did watch it, and it's a fucking dog shit pile of a show. And this is what they gave me. Yeah. Well, I think that's good. Anything you want to plug? YouTube.com/rebel REBLLL. I'll just steal Rex thing. You don't have to like my opinion, but get fucked. Oh yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I don't care if you like, share, subscribe, get fucked. There you go. That's all I got to say. Y'all made me watch She-Hulk so that we could properly talk about this. Yeah, I'm sorry. And you know what the worst part is? The only thing I'm not gonna make you watch is fucking Sandman.